Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have 7 people on the panel today, which is the standard fare, thanks to Hargeet, who has recently joined us. He actually joined RDX. He hasn't just officially announced it as of yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let some footage roll for a little bit as we get into this, get into the topics. Then I'm going to bring the cameras in on everybody's beautiful, handsome faces so we can talk it up. But the footage you're going to see, I got about 30 or 40 minutes of the new Halo Season 3. It is on Oasis. It's Big Team Battle. Wow. I mean, if you have not seen this map, you get a chance right now to see it live on the air. It is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Love what they've done. They have completely knocked it out of the park. But listen, folks, we got a lot to get into tonight. I don't necessarily know if we're going to have record-breaking numbers because, quite frankly, it was hard to match 958 people in the live chat as we had last week. But we're going to give it the old college effort. And really, really quick, folks, the channel is 15 subscribers away from 12K. 15, not 50, but 15. I think we can do it live
right now.
Air.
That's what I was going to say.
Live on the air. Come on now.
I would like this happen tonight. I would like to now. If you're seeing a little bit of a glitchiness, that's the wonderful Xbox DVR. I don't understand what's happening with this game. Why it's running like that? So frustrating. Or you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull the footage because I hate it. I hate looking at it. Let's get to the footage with everybody in it. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Hold on a sec. Where are we? There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm going to stop the footage because, quite frankly, I don't understand what this DVR sucks so bad. But listen, let's get into the show. We have a lot to get into this evening. Obviously, Phil Spencer has announced again today that they have signed a 10-year Call of Duty deal to have Xbox, Bethesda, Call of Duty, and Activision Blizzard games come to another streaming service, another cloud-based service. This is now, the list is starting to stack up. And there are some people, which of course will remain nameless in this community, that are somehow trying to poo-poo this, that it's no big deal. It's only 4 million over here, only 6 million over here, and it's Nintendo. They don't have a real console. It's Lego blocks and whatever else. Look, at the end of the day, what Microsoft is doing is lining their ducks in a row. We are going to come to a point where there's literally going to be so many 10-year deals signed to guarantee that Call of Duty and all of Microsoft's content are going to be available across a plethora of platforms, that someone like the CMA, who had a lot of scrutiny for Xbox Game Pass originally and how they could dominate the entire globe and gaming, as well as cloud being a big question, is all going to be summed up. I mean, and like I said, this is happening in record time. Kay and I were talking today. We seem to think that the thing that they're holding close to the vest, and I said this to him in a private conversation, and I'll say it publicly now, I think that we're going to hear in the coming weeks that they've signed a 10-year deal with Amazon's Luna. I think that is the next big one. I really think that is, I mean, think about it. Luna's trying to get their feet off the ground. They do have their own studios, yes, but they can't push out the content. And it would be in Luna and Amazon's best interest to get on board to be allowed for their streaming service, which a lot of people will have access to Bethesda games, will have access to Xbox games, and more importantly, will have access to Call of Duty games, which they don't have right now. And it would be big. Lena Khan in the news once again, folks. She has requested nearly $600 million from the federal government because, well, folks, they have spent all of their monies going up against Meta, going up against Amazon, and now this frivolous lawsuit against Xbox and Microsoft to block this deal. They don't actually have the capital to go and do their job and potentially look into how these electric companies around the United States are gouging their consumers. This is a new report. And, well, if she wasn't already in the news pretty much every week, well, Lulu Cheng dropped another body live on the air today, folks. And, the the more that you see this happening, the more that this elitist, male-driven gaming media starts to show themselves. And it happened again today. And the gaming media, especially a lot of the big ones who have challenged Lulu Cheng of Activision Blizzard, are afraid of a powerful woman coming out and saying what I think Microsoft should have been saying for years, calling them out on their shit. And she did it again, and she embarrassed the H out of said person, who I will tell you who that is live on the air, and I will read exactly what she wrote. But let's get into the introductions, and we'll start first with the Wandering Dutch. Dutch, how you feeling, brother? You got something big coming up. I can't wait for you to talk about it at the end. I got a chance to sneak peek to see a few things, and I like what I see. How you feeling?
Yeah, all good. Yes. So eventually finished the date announcement trailer for the Community Indie Showcase 2023. So that is ready to rock and roll. We the panel, should we say, the awesome creators that are taking part in the first showcase that is airing on that date is now collaborated, so everybody is aware of who's taking part. And of course, we have some special surprises. Of course, those certain people have been told, but it is a surprise to everybody else. And there's a few more surprises to come as well. So I'm stoked to be working on that again. Indie Showcase is going to be absolutely huge this year on two separate occasions this time, not just one, two showcases. So it's going to be absolutely awesome. But yeah, looking forward to talking about that a little bit later on and toward the end of the show a little bit more. And you never know, people might say something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be pretty dope. Looking forward to it. Kay Asante, you and I had some funny laugh out loud conversations today, one of which, of course, was surrounding Lulu Cheng, dropping those bodies for everyone to see. And I love it. I think that the gaming media has gone unchecked for what seems like generations in favor of Sony. And they pretty much they have gotten away with everything that they want to say, especially when it comes about anti-Xbox rhetoric. And apparently they called Lulu out for, quote unquote, leaking a gentleman's agreement about the conversation regarding Jim Ryan, saying that we don't want a deal, we just want to block your merger. And she called said journalist to the carpet, and I think publicly embarrassed that person, which of course I will tell you who it is momentarily. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back. Are you ready for some more body dropping?
Oh, I'm here for it. As you know, Wednesday is one of my favorite days because of the days I get to podcast with my brothers, and we take a look at all the wonderful craziness that is happening in the world of games. It's been an interesting day, and it just seems to get better all the time. So I'm here for it, and it's always great to podcast with these fine gentlemen here. So let's get into it.
Excellent. And Crispy Bomb, what's going on, brother? I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to say about the happenings, if you will, of the gaming verse. How you feeling?
Oh, it's been an interesting week. You hate to see somebody get their head blown off. You know, Lulu was packing a Nasher, bro. I don't know what to tell you, but you know, it's been interesting, and you know, it's one of those things. Like, can you just not do that? Because like I feel like she's like constantly like, I never said that. And I think we do that ourselves, or we see somebody, you know, like Phil that does an interview, and you're like, he didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? And now finally somebody's like, I didn't say that. It's coming from the source right now. And it's just, it's mind blowing. It's hilarious. And journalism, I don't know, man. I've seen better in my lifetime. So hopefully we get back to our roots here with that.
Yeah, it's I have all the documents in front of me, and obviously I'm all about bringing those documents to the conversation. But listen, let's continue. You know, once again, besides being an incredible artist, incredible father and husband, besides, and that of course is first and foremost, being an incredible podcaster, he's also someone that hands out free shoes. Everyone Saga, listen, I didn't know you were a shoe man on the side, brother. I mean, have people been accepting the free shoes you're giving out?
I listen, it doesn't matter if they accept it, right? I don't even know what size I'm giving out, right? If it fits, it fits. It's up to you, right? They like to call me the Al Bundy of the gaming community. So, just before we get started, shout out to everybody on the panel. The panel is getting so packed, but it's like this all-star Avengers cast.
It is.
And we're not going to do anybody like the MCU did the Hulk. But one thing I wanted to say before we get started, because I don't think anyone has ever talked about this. No one's mentioned this yet, right? This is a fun fact for everyone in the chat. So how much is Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard for?
It's $68.7 billion.
Did we all know, and I just found this out, me, of all people, right? That also accounts, the reason it's that price, because they're accounting for the cash on hand that Activision has, which is $12 billion. So the actual purchase price is only 56.
Okay, I did not know that.
So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It makes it even more bananas that they're going to get Activision, Call of Duty, and everything else for $56 billion. Even though I can't relate. I only have $40 billion in the bank. Sorry, but the mag. First of all, yes. I love the new angle. I love the Mafia picture in the background. I know you're going to be happy to know that Mafia 4 is being made right now.
Very happy about it.
It's going to be done in Unreal Engine 5, so of course you're very happy.
Extremely.
You did amazing yesterday on Mondays. On Mondays, Colt Eastwood show. Congratulations on now becoming the official host. How you feeling, brother?
Yes.
Are you ready to discuss some of the big topics tonight?
What? Of course I'm ready to discuss these big topics. Everybody thinks I ran out of steam after Monday night. They're like, oh, how does the mag keep going? I'm like, what do you mean how's the mag keep going? I'm like, I live like this. You should ask my wife. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Heyo.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, there's that too. Sorry, I wasn't even going down that road. My goodness, I thought we were doing a Manscaped commercial. Anyways, in all seriousness, I'm super happy to be here. But listen, the names of the chat already, guys. Chat's been on fire tonight. I've already been called 6 different things. I've been called Heisenberg, Old Man Colt, Colt's dad, Ben Kingsley, Walter White, and you ready for this one? Maggot. Yeah.
Maggot.
So I've been called a maggot. So that's the new one that's going on in the chat right now. So anyways, it's all good fun anyways. So anyways, we got a lot of things to talk about. We got a big panel. We got big numbers. Let's break 1,000 tonight, guys. And I want to see what the hell's the problem? If you're watching this show right now, slide your thumb half an inch to the right. Okay, I'm pretty sure you've heard that before. If you're looking for something, and anyway, and press the like button. Okay, how hard is it to press the like button? If you're listening to this right now, can't you just press the button? You know what I'm saying?
I
press that
so.
button. Let's get 1,000 likes and let's get 1,000 people in that chat, guys. So let's get into this show tonight.
Can I add something to that, sir? Can I get 15 subs to hit 12K live on the air?
Or can we get 15 subs? Okay, tell you what. This is what's going to happen. If Boom hits 12,000 subs tonight, part of it. I got a $250 bottle of tequila there that was brought straight from Mexico for me. I will crack it live on the air, and we're gonna virtually share some of this tequila. I know Boom likes his Dr. Pepper, but everybody else, we're gonna have this tequila. Okay, it's called El Tesoro. And it's straight from Mexico. Okay, I will open that bottle tonight, which I had no intention of doing, but we're going to do that tonight live in the air, and maybe even a bottle of champagne. We'll do it right in the air, guys. Get this man to 12,000 for crying out loud.
Thank you, sir. And Hargi Chani, as the world turns, as it will, the deals, these 10, Phil Spencer is handing out these 10-year deals like they're candy, and he's answering all the critics, all the doubters, all the questions, and again, some pretty big announcements happened today. I'm here for it because the more people that get a chance to play, the less likely this deal is going to get blocked.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good stuff, right? Adding in more cloud options. It would be interesting, like you're saying, if they go with Amazon as well. I wonder how that would work out. I guess would they try to do something with Game Pass, because that's not using Steam's library, right? They've already said they're going to be on Steam, and they just attach those to others. That's fine, but Phil did say that platforms where Game Pass exists, so it'll be interesting to see how that works, right? But if they allow Luna, why not? I mean, it's a Windows-based thing, so shouldn't be that big of a deal to port the games, and it would pretty much take away all the competition fears. All the freaking cloud competitors are getting deals, right? They picked one.
They have channels
in Europe, but
I don't know if you've played. I don't know if you've played with Luna recently. They have channels. They have the Ubi channel. They have other
and Microsoft can make a channel,
Xbox
right?
Channel.
Yeah. Microsoft can make their channel, right? And and then sell their stuff there. It's an interesting one. It could be it's more complicated, and that's maybe why they haven't announced that one. But yeah, there's a potential there, and this is all just to allay the fears of the potential, monopoly. I still don't think it's too nascent, but whatever. The potential monopoly they might be able to create in cloud gaming. But yeah, it's good to see that they're just really putting their money where their mouth is, right? Let's go make these deals. 10 years is quite a bit of time in tech world, and usually these things they get renewed. But that's presuming this stuff even sticks around, right? We don't know if cloud will be around. But yeah, so been playing some Wolong along with other things. Halo has been fun, so yeah, good times.
I'm actually going to go to you first, being that we're talking about it. Phil Spencer put out a tweet, as he does, and it was viewed 1.2 million times.
Wow.
That's how many people saw this tweet. This happened today at 9 a.m. Phil Spencer, on his official Twitter account, wrote this: Microsoft and Ubisoft, a leading cloud gaming provider, have signed a 10-year partnership to stream Xbox PC games as well as Activision Blizzard titles after the acquisition closes. Our commitment is to give more players more choice. But of course, as he does, Brad Smith, president of Microsoft, chimed in on it and says, just another day of ensuring access to more games for more people everywhere, including Call of Duty, once the Activision acquisition is complete. This is pretty interesting. Again, this comes on the heels of a Booster, I believe it's called, signed the deal. Boosteroid. Thank you very much. Just the other day. This is on the heels of the NVIDIA and Nintendo signing 10-year deals. And like I said, he is just racking up provider after provider after provider. And I think, again, he is closing the window on any doubt that cloud is going to be gobbled up by Xbox only. The fact that you can now play these games across all of these new platforms, which they said they're not done. They're going to be adding more in the coming weeks. Like I said in the opener, I do think Amazon's Luna is going to be one of them. It is one of the biggest ones out there. I would not have doubted that Stadia would have been a part of the conversation as well. But, Google does what Google does, and they kill their own products. Just to reiterate some of your thoughts and get your overall opinion on this, the CMA has been when we've been talking about this for over 12 months, 14 months now. The CMA has been the one that we were mostly concerned about. They put out some things. Listen, at the end of the day, I think Microsoft has answered the call in regards to these 10-year deals. These 10-year deals are going to be legally binding, as we know. And it makes a lot of sense for Microsoft to put these games here, there, and everywhere because they're going to be getting paid and they're going to be making more money and investing more into the company. Do you think what they have done in the last few weeks, because remember, we still have, folks, 5 weeks before the CMA, the EU give their final verdict on whether or not they're going to pass this. We have heard through rumors that the EU Commission is going to pass this. They're going first, supposedly, on the 25th. The CMA is going next on the 26th. I've said this before, and I will continue to reiterate this, and I don't care because I have nothing to lose. If this deal is blocked by the CMA, there are a couple of things that I'm going to immediately call for, and that is corruption and collusion, or both. And, that's just some of my opinions on it. But, Cargi, what's yours? What do you think of these signings?
Yeah, it potentially helps with the piece of the cloud, right? But their main thing has been to protect Sony. I don't know why, but they're trying to protect Sony. Microsoft has now got 3 consoles that are getting this. That's the Steam Deck, it's Xbox, and Nintendo, right? So there's 3 consoles in the market that will be getting Call of Duty. And Valve said they don't even care to get the deal. They'll just they figure Microsoft will honor their word, and they will. They'll be putting their stuff on Steam. So that's cool that they get all those 3 consoles get it. Sony is still sitting there pouting and they're not doing anything, and fair enough. That's what they should do, I guess. And as far as the cloud, like they're gonna find every cloud gaming vendor and say, "Do you want a deal?" They're probably gonna say, "Yep, thank you. We'll take the deal." Right? Why not? Right? It's a growing market, and it helps them, to be able to market their service when it has this massive library of games coming in from Xbox, assuming they have ABK as well, plus ZeniMax, right? So that's a lot of games that just suddenly show up, right? So cool deal for them. Good thing for the market as well, right? That allows, if xCloud isn't performant in Japan, which it probably is, but if it isn't, this new deal with them, right? That company is based in Japan. That would help them, right? And then we have another one based in Ukraine, kind of handles the Eastern Europe and also other areas. It's also in the U.S., right? But it handles areas that maybe, Microsoft isn't really focusing on yet, which is cool. So those users now, those players, 4 million players, right? They get access to all these games. This is good stuff, right? Just from a market perspective, right? And hopefully those deals go into effect no matter what. And if they get ABK, they get more games. But otherwise, even whatever Microsoft has today, suddenly those are available. That's great. But allaying the fears of the competition issues, I mean, first, I totally disagree with the idea that one game, by any stretch of the imagination, is the industry. That's just bogus. That if this game somehow stops next year, does that mean that the entire gaming industry fails? I find that absurd. If they stop making MCU movies, is that the end of movies? Give me a break. Like, what are you talking about here, right? Like, it's so stupid, right? Like, Star Wars was the pinnacle before MCU came around, and that was sold. Was there anything blocking that? Oh my God, you have to make a Star Wars movie and put it in Netflix. Like, no, it's just baloney. The whole thing just is bonkers. But whatever, fine. They're gonna make this big deal out of one game, and they're gonna try to make an issue because of Sony, right? At this point, I think they've done everything they can. Even if they don't sign anybody else, they've got plenty, evidence that they're willing to participate openly in the market, and they understand that Call of Duty is a big game, and for Call of Duty, it's better to have more gamers accessing it. That's always the better thing for multiplayer games. So, and in a game that's been like a large number of players, one of the largest games every year, it's a good thing, right? So having more players access it, that's better. So we'll see how that goes with the regulators. As you said, EC, right? They're ready to go. It seems like they're going to approve it. Which I think is the first big deal. And once that's there, the FTC part, whatever. The big question mark is, what does the CMA do? And then what is the response from Microsoft? If they say, they're going to block it, then there's a long multi-year process to see if they want to fight it. So that'll be a fun little thing, but we'll see how that goes, right? So I hope it does.
No,
actually.
It won't be fun. It won't be fun at all, Harky.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Won't even get that.
I hope the CMA takes it as, hey, look, they're serious and they've got a lot of people on board, right? Unions are on board. How often does that happen, right? Unions are on board. All the big companies that are in the gaming world are on board, save one. And, okay, that company is going to be competed with, and they're going to have to deal with the competition now. Right? They've been comfortable. They've been taking over the industry, and that's fine. But now they have to deal with the fact that somebody says, well, fine, we're going to actually play your game and compete with you. And hey, that's the market, right? I would love it if Nintendo came in and said, well, we're going to make a console that plays all the AAA games. We're going to compete with you too, Sony. What are you going to do about it? We're not a fitness app company. So I like these moves. It just keeps adding more fuel to the fire that Microsoft's willing to compete and keep this game available everywhere. And that deal should just go through and be done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wandering Dutch, let's get your opinion on this. Listen, you've been very, very vocal. Obviously, you guys were there, talking about everything, on the midweek mix-up as you do. The more that these things happen, the smaller Sony looks. I would say a different word. I would say stupid. I would say immature. I would say, market leader crybabies. You add whatever quiff you want to add to it. But I think that the more people that sign on that are signing these deals. And just imagine in my mind, Sony is literally just standing there pouting like this, and people are just stepping over them and signing. Okay, now we got Call of Duty. Oh, now we got Call of Duty. Now we got Activision. Now we have Xbox Game Pass PC games being able to be streamed, which could be something like Starfield or Hellblade 2 or whatever. Pick your favorite Xbox game that's going to be first party. They really have. I don't know. To me, it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face at this point.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of the agreements, of course, the one major thing is it's ruling out one of the objections that all regulators had, and that was for the cloud streaming specifically. Yep. They were saying it was going to decrease competition in the cloud streaming area. What they're essentially doing here by all of these deals isn't just appeasing regulators, but it's showing kind of Microsoft's strategy here in that they don't see the cloud market as an overall competitive space as it stands right now, but also it isn't going to directly compete with them on both the PC or the console market. So it isn't a threat to them in any way, shape, or form. Not only that, but the vast majority of cloud streaming platforms requires the user to purchase the video game first before they can play it on the subscription, which means that it's a win-win for Microsoft regardless of which cloud streaming platform it goes to and they put it on, because they're going to get the sales for these games either on GeForce Now or Ubiquitous or any of these others that they stream with. And then on the flip side for all of these cloud streaming companies is they get these subscription services up because they've got these additional games on there. So it's a win for both parties. So it increases the competitiveness of the market, but it also, for Microsoft specifically, there isn't a danger. Like I've seen quite a few people mention, they're just handing out deals to everybody. I don't like Microsoft giving away things. When it comes to cloud streaming services, they're giving away nothing. They are still selling their games. The games are still exclusive to console platforms. It's not going anywhere. The vast majority of the casual gamers will still play in the casual places, which is console. The vast majority of the hardcore gamers will still play on the hardcore platform, which is PC. And everybody else in between, the super hardcore who love cloud streaming and have really stable internet connections at a high quality, will play on cloud. It's just providing more options, but it's not going to damage themselves from any competitive standpoint because they're going to make a boatload of money. It's not going to, in terms of exclusivity, it makes absolutely zero difference because, again, it's still, if you're wanting to sell a console, which is both what PlayStation and Microsoft have said isn't the end game now. Both of them have said it. They've said consoles are such a limited space that we need to expand. So that isn't the end game. So if you're not going to be concerned about how anything's damaging the console front, why would you not put your games on other cloud services that can be sold, that you make money? It's business at the end of the day. If you speak to anybody and any regular person on the street and you mention, I'm going to play Starfield on Ubiquitous, and be like, sorry, what? I'm going to play it on GeForce Now. Be, what? What's that? Like, the vast majority of normal people don't know these things. These are just additional cloud services. This is primarily for regulators and these cloud streaming services. These companies were also those who had concerns that were mentioned to the FTC, the CMA, etc. There was a list of about 12 cloud streaming companies that had concerns over this because they were worried that this acquisition was going to affect them and they would never see any of these games on their service. So Microsoft has guaranteed that these games are going to their service now. So it's kind of already getting ahead of the game and saying, listen, we know you guys had issues. Here's the contract to say that you're definitely going to get these games. We don't see yourselves, and this is without people kind of blowing their own trumpet, we don't see yourselves as direct competition to our overall strategy. It's not something that's going to harm our business in any way, shape, or form by offering this deal. So all it's doing is providing more people the opportunity to play these games wherever they want to play them. Now, it's not to say you're going to get these games on PlayStation and you're going to get these games on Nintendo, but you're definitely going to get Call of Duty. but you're not going to get every Xbox Game Studio game like you are on these cloud services. The reason they're giving them Call of Duty and Xbox Cloud Gaming, Xbox Game Studio games, is primarily because they aren't direct competition to their physical platform. If they were all in direct competition to their physical platform, guarantee it would only be Call of Duty that's on that contract. But there are only 3 major competitors when it comes to console gaming: Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. And the only game that those platforms have been guaranteed is
Call of Duty. Yeah.
All of the cloud streaming guys have all been guaranteed Xbox Game Studio games and Call of Duty and Bethesda games.
Bethesda games, yep.
Yep, they've got all of those for all cloud streaming. So basically, they're just going to all the regulators and saying, listen, these are only a handful. We've agreed 5 cloud streaming networks, the ability to have all of our games on their platforms going forward. We are in discussions with everybody else. So everyone's going to get offered the same deal, and they can take it, and they'll get access to all of our games. So that automatically wipes out the argument of anti-competitiveness when it comes to cloud streaming, because everybody has the same stuff. So that's one out of the park. The next one, of course, is just the Call of Duty debate. And Nintendo, the only major competitor now who has an issue with Call of Duty is PlayStation. Nobody else. It comes to a point where regulators will see that if they are unwilling to negotiate in any frame, which is what is the statement that you mentioned with Lulu, which we'll get into in a bit. If they're unwilling to negotiate at all, the regulators will not look kindly on that, because the purpose of the regulator is to find remedies and find concessions in order to either, okay, right, everybody else is happy, but we need some concessions made to make sure that the market is stable, not the competitors, the market.
Right.
If one of your competitors has an issue that nobody else in the market has, that's not something we're protecting. We're protecting the overall market. And that's where they'll draw the line, and the regulators will say, you're the odd one out. What we'll do is ensure that Microsoft keeps the door open for that 10-year agreement. However, this deal's getting passed. Like, unfortunately, your worries about this have been completely undermined by the fact that you are unwilling to negotiate on any terms, regardless. This isn't your negotiation. This is regulators' negotiations. This is between the regulators and Microsoft. This isn't between Sony and the regulators. And this is the one thing Sony need to understand. They can have an opinion. They can put forward their concerns and their issues about it. But ultimately, what the regulators are there to do is protect the market and overall competition. Not a single competitor, but overall competition. So when overall competition is overwhelmingly in support, which is where Microsoft are getting it to, and there's only one competitor that has an issue, that's when it becomes the outlier. And they say, listen, this is going through. Whether you like it or not, the whole market, apart from you, is happy. So we are happy. And that's how it'll die. And I think in terms of the Luna thing that you mentioned, the only thing stopping Luna being competitive is the fact that they are still only available in North America.
Yep.
And that's going to be the outlier. And I think on Microsoft's front as well, they'll be kind of saying that to regulators. Like, we understand Luna's got concerns, but even Google Stadia, who failed and did fail to operate, was available worldwide. At least they give it a good shot worldwide before they pulled out. Luna have been now on the table for more than a year, possibly close to 2 years, and they still haven't got out of one territory. That is more of a concern on Amazon's front, whether or not they have the urgency or the internal need to actually expand elsewhere, and whether or not they actually have the mentality to want to take their gaming segment further than what it is. So Microsoft might be having more different conversations with Amazon on the Luna front, because there's no guarantees Luna will be around in a year or two. If they continue to restrict themselves, then I don't see them doing so. If they expand and they say, no, we're going to push to Europe, and we're going to push to Asia, like later on this year or next year, then they'll give them the same 10-year deal everybody else is getting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be it. What's that?
No. I said, can I go next on this one? Because I had some points but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Jump in. Go ahead. Talk about it.
So firstly, what you were talking about, Dutch, with why they're giving sort of all of the Xbox games to these cloud providers. The general rule of thumb there, why they're getting access to everything, is they are signing deals with bring your own game cloud providers, right? So if we look at what GeForce Now is, it's not really a store. It is, you bought it from an existing storefront, and now we're giving you access to it here. So they literally lose nothing. It's still on the same stores that it's on, and all of the purchases are going to where they go today. So just allowing access, again, it solves the regulators' problems, but they actually have not given up anything when we say that. So right. And that's really the beauty of it. But, and I tried to make this point earlier today on Twitter. The thing about the they're not doing this for no reason, right? And everyone wants to sort of make fun of who the hell are these people, and they're signing deals with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and people are making jokes they're about to sign a deal with Texas Instruments so you could play Call of Duty on your calculator. Ha ha ha. That actually was pretty funny. But
you didn't hear that they're signing a deal with Slow-Mo Cloud. Slow-Mo Cloud is coming. It's amazing. It's got backslap infrastructure.
I signed a deal with Microsoft today to have access to Call of Duty this holiday. The thing is to think about here, the reason all of these cloud providers sound like you've never heard of them, that shows you how nascent the market is, right? That shows you how small, and I don't want to say sort of insignificant, maybe it will be something, but you don't know these players because cloud gaming
you might remember,
really
what was the name of that company, that cloud streaming company that was out before PlayStation purchased them and then dissolved them?
Right?
On Live and Gaikai.
On Live,
that's right. On Live.
And then dissolved them.
Right. So this is the thing, right? We know Stadia is not in the business, and we know if they are trying to allay UK and EU regulators, signing a deal with Luna wouldn't matter because that's outside of their jurisdiction, like you said, right? Yep. So what's important now is to say specifically that they are going to, by the way, Joaquin Branch is playing a shot game in the chat. So every time I say the word right, they take a shot. I just want to remind you of
what word was it?
Right. Take another one.
Was that
so the thing is, they're alcohol poisoning people. Be very careful.
Yeah, you got problems,
right. So the thing is, excuse me. So now I won't. No.
I do not condone this.
Now he's self-conscious about saying right.
Yeah, I know. It's messing up my train of thought. So the thing here is they are trying to address the cloud concern, and the reason for that is the CMA specifically said that their reservation. And you know what? Let me just read you the paragraph. This is like the thing that I do every week, right? So paragraph 44 of the remedies document from the CMA says, as noted above, the circumstances in which the CMA might select the behavioral remedy as the primary source of remedial action are not present in this case. But that's later on, they say Microsoft can still try to prove that to them. The two markets in which the CMA has provisionally found SLCs are multifaceted and continue to grow. Continue to develop. This is particularly the case in cloud gaming, where the customer offerings and business model of the market participants are evolving rapidly. We are of the initial view that any behavioral remedy in this case is likely to present effective material effectiveness risks. We invite the parties to provide evidence on how these risks could be appropriately managed to ensure that any behavioral remedies are effective, right? So that's the one where they say Access can handle PlayStation, but how does that handle the cloud? And the way it handles the cloud, this nascent market, is by us signing up all of the players. And again, if you don't know the players, that's because the market is so small.
Yes.
Right? And if it is that small, then it should not be material to a nearly $70 billion deal if it is that nascent. So you can't have it both ways. The cloud is either a concern, so you want to make sure that small players have access to what has somehow been deemed as essential input, which we all know is bullshit. But it is for the purpose of this regulatory review. And so you want to make sure the smaller players have it. And if you're saying those smaller players don't matter, then the cloud SLC doesn't matter. And then that shouldn't be on the board. And so the reason they're signing all of these things up, like you said, and like Hargeet said, is it's not even about the regulators. If the regulators decide they want to pick Sony over the whole rest of the industry, remember, all of these decisions are subject to review. They're in front of a judge right now at the FTC. The EU has courts that you can appeal to, and the CMA has CAT that can be appealed to. And people say, oh, well, CAT usually sides with the CMA. Not all the time. And CAT has to have the CMA prove how they came to their conclusion, right? And if they're going to have to prove that they came to the conclusion that everyone else in the industry is for the deal except for one company, that's not going to meet the smell test. At least that's what Microsoft is calculating. So that's the point of these deals. And again, they've only so far signed deals with bring your own game providers, not anyone who they're putting in another store. So what would be like a big deal, although it wouldn't be really a big deal because no one has mentioned any SLCs in the PC space, is if they put it in Epic. And this is why you don't hear about a deal that it's in the Epic store, because that's not something that the regulators are talking about, right? So if they put it in Luna, that would be to help the FTC case, not necessarily the CMA or the EU's case. So all of these things are strategic. All the wording they're using are in case they need to fight this in court. And Brad Smith in an interview with, I believe, the Wall Street Journal, or it could have been Bloomberg, where he said that they will challenge any negative decision with regards to this deal. So
he said that in the Wall Street Journal interview that he just did. Yeah, yes, correct.
Right. So and what the point there is, a lot of us, myself included, right? I don't have a crystal ball, so I was wrong on this too. I said if the CMA blocks it, Microsoft is going to walk away. Brad Smith is saying nope. If you block it, we're going to court, and we're going to show all of this as evidence, right? All of this. All of these deals that we sign up to specifically address these things, you're not just going to have to be like, I was college buddies with Jim Ryan. Did I say it again? Did I say right again? I don't think I said right again. But anyway,
you said it 16 times based on.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe that count. But anyway, they now have to prove this to a judge, right? And we see right now in front of a judge. I keep saying it. It's crazy.
Right.
In front of a judge,
this is great.
Judge Chappell is pushing back on things that don't make sense. It's very fair. So the regulators can be as biased or unbiased as they want, but when they go in front of a judge, it's going to be a different story. And that's the case Microsoft is making right now. And so we'll see how it plays out, but it is very shrewd, and they have not given up anything that they didn't say from day one, which is we'll put COD on PlayStation and Nintendo, and we will give access to places where it's still in our store, right? We're just telling you it's okay to run a Windows machine and play games that were bought in our store. That's not giving up everything.
No, but it's still allowing the game to be played on other locations. Everyone's laughing. There must be something going on in the chat. How many times?
No. It is. I don't think
right like 20 times. Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
It's okay. They used to do that for me with Gears. So every time I say Gears,
it's like if I say the word "the."
Yeah, I listen.
Right?
Well, I'll say this: if there is drinking to be had, folks, I'm here to tell you that as per the mag, we are 8 subscribers away.
Oh, I was 8. I had my hand up. I'm like, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get that bottle.
The first thing I thought when you said that was right.
Yeah.
There you go, 21. I love it.
Okay, 8 more, guys. Come on.
8 more. That's all we need. 8 more.
Yep.
Asante, let's talk about this because very similar to what Dutch was saying, there are a lot of people that are trying to downplay these deals as if these other services, they don't matter. One had 4 million, the other has 6 million. They're not big, ginormous services, but they're services that are going to get more than just Call of Duty. They're going to get Xbox games that are on PC. You're going to get Bethesda games that are on PC. And the cloud concern has been answered. That is one of the main driving forces. Very similar to what Everborn Saga says. It's going to be very hard, especially if the EU Commission does in fact pass this, that the CMA does not pass it as well. When everyone else is saying we have no problems with this, but the CMA does, and that's because they are clearly looking out for their buddy Sony. The words of corruption and collusion start to really ring true, and I don't know if they want that. I mean, obviously, governments are corrupt everywhere, not just there.
Hey,
but
Boom,
again,
sorry, really quick. I just want to clarify. I'm not saying that the regulators are looking out for Sony. I am saying that's the case Microsoft will make, and it is a very compelling case.
Well, you may not be saying. I'm saying that. I will say that live on the air. The way it has been worded, the way it has been presented, listen, if it walks and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, folks. The truth of the matter is that right now in that region, Sony posted a 316% year-over-year profit for the PlayStation 5. They currently have an 80% market share to Microsoft's 20%, and that's because the CMA told us that the Nintendo Switch is a fitness app and they don't matter. So they completely took them out of the conversation. So by the CMA's policies, removing Nintendo says, well, then the market is 80% Sony, 20% Microsoft.
Well, I mean, you can even see what Microsoft is doing, right? You can see that they are, whether you believe it or not, they're inoculating themselves from that, right? So for all the folks out there that are saying that, what Microsoft is doing, it's on the margins, it doesn't matter. They're literally doing it in public and showing you, hey, who are you standing behind, the people or a certain company? Because if it's the people, we can show you us giving it to the people, right? Here you go, this service that covers this European region. Here you go, this other service covering, and it may not be the grandiose, huge numbers that you're used to, but imagine them putting all those numbers together. It'll cover a vast swath of individuals, a vast swath of people that this is for. All those services are all fledgling, as you guys have all expertly pointed out. When the pie is small, even the pieces are even smaller. So you can't expect there to be, huge G-force numbers. That just doesn't exist. And exactly to your point about
just one second.
Yes.
That's the main crux of all of this. You can, on the one hand, say that these companies won't be around in 5-10 years, and then tell me cloud is a concern for this deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if cloud is really a concern, then watch Microsoft provide the service to any and every cloud service out there, right? And after that, when they do that, and remember, they've done similarly in the gaming space, but with other things where they will go. And I love that meme that somebody posted out there. You're at like a birthday party and everybody's holding the cake and they each have a hand on the knife and they're cutting the cake, and Sony is on the other side. His hand cannot get on the cake, but he's just in the picture anyway doing one of these. He's in an island by himself, unfortunately, right? And they're literally trying to say, okay, who are you protecting? Or if you're protecting the consumers, then watch us give it to all the consumers that you want to have it, right? And yes, some of these services aren't the biggest services you've ever heard of, but many of them are pivotal services that people use outside of our bubble, outside of our mainstay. But still, there are 5 million people that rely on that thing. So combine that 5 million people with 5 million other people here and 10 million there. And what do you have? You have a whole plethora of people who now have that service and have that game that didn't have it before. So once that is established and everybody sees that, and I'm sure at some point Microsoft will come out with glowing numbers as to, hey, here's the 150 million more people we're not giving it to, right? Now that will now have access to these games that didn't have it before. After that, the ball's in your court, regulator, right? If you're here for the people, guess what? We're giving it to the people, right? But if the sticking point is, well, what about Sony? Yeah, that's a conversation we can have for another day, and our lawyers can be a part of that, because they're being very wishy-washy in what they want. They're not answering calls, right? Clearly, they're trying to isolate that company by itself so that either A, the regulators come to their senses and go, okay, well, you've fulfilled what we need, which is making sure that the people get the service and there's competition in the space, right? Or if a situation does present itself like you're thinking, Boom, where there is some kind of like underhanded conversations to be had, this is all being done in the public. Did we hit 1,000? Tell me we did.
We hit 12K live on the air.
Yes. All right.
Let's go.
Shout out to who was this? Is Galvestron in the chat? Just says got you the 12K, brother. Thank you.
Come on, Galvestron. Why did it take you so long, man? You should have been a part of this a long time ago. But thank you.
I appreciate
that. He's goated now. He is the 12th.
Yes, you are cemented. Yes, you should get a shirt that says it on the back. 12K.
I got to tell you, folks. I was talking to Kay Sante. We'll get back to it, of course. I just want to I want to acknowledge the 12K. This is something that, when you become a content creator, the goal is to get someone to sub your channel, right? Mrs. Boomstick is my first sub, obviously. It has been 4 years. We make 5 years, November 3rd, 2023. This particular month has been pretty epic. And now we have just put the cherry on top of the sundae. We announced earlier last week that the channel has surpassed 4 million views. That is substantial considering the size of the channel. We have officially over the weekend launched our merch. And I'm sitting down in a meeting this week with Teespring regarding the what we put out there. Apparently it's doing very well. And I'm very honored and proud that that happens. Spotify has partnered with Double Barrel Gaming on Spotify podcasts. They sent me an email. I responded. They really like the content, and I'm working with Spotify hand in hand. And now, on top of everything we have just talked about, we hit 12K, and that is a big deal because it's those numbers that will allow me to have Reed Pop, who is handling E3, look at the channel and say, yes, you have done enough to be considered press. I was considered press in 2019 with EA, with Microsoft, and with the ESA. I have not been approved as of yet. I'm still waiting for Reed Pop to get back to me. Hopefully I'll be there with Kay Asante and several others covering E3 from the ground floor up. But I just want to say a big thank you to over 600 people that are here. As thank you for getting me past 12K. It is a really, really big deal. And continue, please, Kay Asante.
No, and gentlemen, we 12K subscribers. We have 614 people in here. Only 281 people in that have hit that like button. It is not that hard to do, ladies and gentlemen. Just go hit that button, and the more folks will come in here, and we'll really have a party. But no, congratulations to you, Mr. Boomstick. Look, I will end this by saying all this is according to plan.
Yep.
We see it happening every week. It is according to plan. Now, as to the idea that they may add it to Luna, Luna's an interesting one because that would be the first service that's different than all the others, as the guys have already pointed out. That is a service that then they would actually be putting games into a competing service properly. There might, as Hargeet mentioned, there might be some challenges there. I actually think it might not be that difficult because at the end of the day, it is one of the only services that, like Microsoft, runs off of Windows. So there is not that too much of a translation there. And of course, as Amazon does, it likes to separate channels out. So all you need to do is put your channels in there. I don't know how much of an uplift that will be, but I suspect that is a possibility. But again, to your point, expertly so, they don't care about that because this is the CMA, this is the EU, and let's be honest, the FTC doesn't matter in this conversation right now, right? And the FTC would be looking out for America's interest, whereas the EU and the CMA looking out for the interest of the European customers. And by and large, that's why a bunch of these other services are being brought on board and saying, see, we're giving it to them as well. So at the end of the day, I think this is an open and shut case. I'm looking forward to seeing all the other grandstandy things. The best part about all this is it's being done in the open, because like you, Boom, some people may think that it looks like the way that the certain regulatory bodies are speaking sounds like they have backroom deals or whatever. When one of the proponents is literally speaking in the front of the door and using a megaphone and speaking loudly to anyone that can hear them, you can't then make your backroom deal. You must come out and explain it and have the normals understand it. And they're betting that you will not be easy to make that second-class deal in the background if you have Microsoft like screaming to the top, hey, look at all the people we're adding to our lists, right? So it's all according to plan, and I see them do one of these handful of things. We shall see where it goes. I don't think it goes anywhere but where we assume it will be, which is at this point it's crossing T's, dotting I's. This thing's going to be closed. I'm looking forward to hearing the concessions, like how deep it goes, what gets solidified. I hope some pricing becomes part of the conversation as well, because Lord knows, none of these are your friend, right? Eventually, when they become the big predominant force in the room, maybe prices will go up. Maybe some of the concessions will have some guarantees of keeping prices low for a while, and I'm there for that as well. But no, this is all interesting stuff, and we should not be upset that they're handing it to services that we may not recognize, because they're servicing customers that may not be you, but you got Game Pass. If you're listening to this, chances are you got Game Pass. Chances are you're in a market where they're covering you. So just be happy that other gamers are getting it too. That's it.
Nah, not bad. Mag, let's get your hot take on this. Before we do, brother, let me shout out my brother Neo Mento, who
I read that.
The funniest super chat of the day.
He is who he thought he was. Neo
Brotherly
Mento,
love.
That's right. That's my brother. He drops he's been a channel member for 2 years. Drops a $2 super chat and says, "It's not the DVR, it's you. You suck." Wait a second. Now hold on. I went 14-6 in my last game, but
we didn't see that, did we?
But you know what, though?
All we saw was glitchy footage.
Hey, you know what, Neo Mental? Why are you only a member for 2 years? What were you doing before the 2 years? You were his brother. You should have been there day one. That's what you call Italian guilt. It's very much
there
like Jewish
I love
guilt.
it.
We're
I
the
love
same
it.
thing.
Good stuff. Jerome TJ dropped several super chats, and of course, he gifts a Double Barrel Gaming channel membership. Thank you for that, Jerome TJ. The first one of $5. He says, "Hey, Boom and panel, everyone, please hit that like button." After dropping a $5 super chat, he drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Boom, great panel, dude. Hi, Hargeet. Hey, Crispy Bomb. Hey, everyone. Dutch, Mag, and K Asante. Salute to you." He drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Where is the family plan?" Yeah, they got to get that. They got to. I have people waiting for that.
Is it possible that they're waiting to launch the family plan based on this deal?
It could very well be. Sure,
you know what I mean. Like Asante was talking about prices and so on and so forth. Isn't it possible that they might be waiting and says, "You know what? Listen, the deal's gone through, everything else. Let's launch the family plan to do it as a sign of goodwill towards the customers already, and bring more people in."
Let's see the concessions we are forced to have to eat, if any of them are related to pricing. If it's not related to pricing, maybe the single plan goes up a little bit, and then we offset that by the family plan. Who knows? They're waiting to see what happens.
It could be a pawn. It could be a pawn in this game of chess. We just don't know. Maybe that's why we haven't heard about it so far.
Yeah.
Good points from everybody. Highlander 001 drops, who's been a channel member for 6 months, drops a $5 super chat and says, "Evening Boom and panel. I see ponies are upset that Microsoft are making deals with everyone but Sony. Jim Ryan is stuck on stupid. It's that simple." Splendiferous drops a $2 super chat and says, "Smart and classy gents as always." And Mag, great show. Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Stitch6669 drops a $2 super chat and says, "This is how you share games. I had to do it." I love it. I love it. That's the snarkiness of it all. Xbox International Podcast drops a $10 super chat and says, "Congrats, Boom, on the 12K. Lots of love, brother." And yes, you got to get the Xbox International Podcast close. Folks, they're this close to 1K. Let's do the push. Thank you for that. We also have, it looks like Sanchez MTZ Gaming drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Congratulations, Boom," and thank you so much for that. Definitely appreciate it. And John Wolf, who's been a channel member for a month, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Congrats, Boom, on 12K. You deserve it. Be on the lookout for an email from Phil offering you a 10-year deal." Everybody on the panel.
Boom Cloud, ladies and gentlemen. Boom Cloud. It's a beautiful thing. Let's go.
I will sell it. I'm going to sell the business tomorrow. No problem. Listen, Mag, let's get your hot take on this, brother. This is good for gaming. It's good for, what people are calling it political, especially, of course, with the boosteroid one, because obviously it has to do with the fact they're from Ukraine, and some people are targeting Microsoft as only doing it because they're trying to get sympathy, which I think is the most ridiculous argument.
Yeah.
Cloud was a problem, and now it's not. The more that these problems go away, the quicker the 26 comes, and the CMA says to Sony, "Listen, we're approving this deal. Get in line to sign yours."
Right. Okay. There's a couple things I want to talk about. I am gonna get back to Lena Khan too, because you did bring her up at the beginning of the show.
Oh no, we're going to get to her. Yeah.
It's something else that I wanted to talk about with her. But anyways, what's happening here, and this is something that we've all seen, we've all talked about, we all know about, is that what Microsoft is doing is the exact same thing they did with the launch of the Series X. Believe it or not, it's the same game plan. It's the same roadmap. What they're doing is that they're chopping down narratives one at a time. This time, they're doing it on a legal level. So what they're doing is that they're doing like all these little moves that they're making is that you're cutting down every single narrative that was presented to them, so that in the chance, which it'll never be a chance, that it ever makes it to court, it will be thrown out of court before it makes it to court. This was the game plan. This was the design from the beginning, right? And so they keep doing this. So when they bring up what they call concerns, the concerns are instantly addressed. And it's not like they're by the seat of the pants going, "Oh, we'll take care of that." They've already done that. They've already made all these concessions well before the concessions were even brought to light. They already had them in their back pocket. They already had it ready. They already had a game. Did you not think that a $2 trillion company had their game plan ready to go? Of course they did. They have them in their little duotangs inside their leather briefcases, and it's all set and ready to go well before any papers were put in front of the CMA, in front of the European Union, and in front of the FTC. It was all done and ready. So that's what I see there. Now, as for Wrath of Khan, okay, the thing is that what's happening here is that she's basically squeezing herself out of a position, right, of power. And what's happening is they're losing money. Okay, we'll get into that later. But anyway, the point is that one by one, all these narratives are being shut down. As for Sony, being the odd man out, so to speak, right? What they're doing, what Microsoft is doing is offering, well, you can call it goodwill, but let's face it, it's all about money in the end, right? So when it comes to the cloud services, they're offering it to everyone. And you guys see those advertisements they were putting out saying, "We are opening it up to 150 million new players." And they took out full page ads in the papers across the UK and everything else to show their quote unquote goodwill. But we know it's not goodwill, but it's you know what I'm saying? They're basically showing that, hey, listen, we're offering this to everybody. And instead of making a deal that's actually going to cut people out, this deal is actually doing what? It is increasing accessibility at the end of the day. And that is exactly what this was supposed to do. Now, what they're doing, by doing this, by increasing accessibility to everybody else, it is making Sony look more and more foolish by the minute, that they're just where they're just like, where eventually the CMA is going to look at Sony and say, what are you guys holding out for then? And it's going to make them look foolish. And that's exactly what's happening. But Microsoft's not doing it. They're doing it in a very passive-aggressive way. So that's what's happening there. When Sony, they're squeezing them like an anaconda. Eventually, if they decide to bend the knee, which they never will, what they do, all will be clear. And Sony will be left standing there with nothing in their hands. Now, the thing is, some people are saying, oh, well, then Microsoft could do what they want with the deal. Listen, they're still going to offer they're still going to offer Sony exactly what they offered before. They're not going to be vindictive and say, well, you know what? You guys didn't sign. You guys didn't help us out during this deal. You're not going to get anything, because at the end of the day, guess what? Every single sale of a Call of Duty game or any ABK game that's sold on a Sony machine, Microsoft not gets 30, which I made a mistake, by the way, on Monday night when I was talking about with Colt. I kept saying 30. They're the publisher now, folks. They're going to make 70% on every single sale on the Sony system. Why would you cut them out? This is the biggest slap in the face without being a slap in the face that they could possibly do. Every sale of an ABK game on the Sony console is going to make Microsoft 70% as the publisher holder now.
And by the way, there, Mag, not only is it because they're making 70% on every sale. You think this is the last time they're purchasing something that will go in front of any regulator?
Absolutely not. It will not be the last time.
The FTC is still talking about what do you call it? Starfield not coming. They remember these things, so you got to be nice, or you'll never get a date to the prom again. It's just not going to happen anymore. You know?
Exactly. But you know the thing is, Microsoft's going to say, "Hey, listen, man, let bygones be bygones. Yep. You guys can keep getting everything. We'll give you access to everything. We'll give you Diablo 5. We'll give you whatever, right? Tony Hawk, the new Tony Hawk game, the new obviously the new Tony Call of Duties, whatever else, blah blah blah. But anyways, the point is that they're going to make 70% on every single sale that's going to happen. So what Sony's doing now, it's actually not holding up proceedings at all. These proceedings were going to be held up no matter what, because they have to cross every T, dot every I, and even if they're going to pass it and they have nothing to pass it for, they still have to give you the illusion that they're going through the due process in order to do so when you're talking about $56 billion. Thank you, Everboard, for giving me the appropriate number, not the 68 billion. But you know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing at the end of the day. It's all just pomp and circumstances. It's all just putting on a big show to make sure that they do it all. Sony's got no dog in this race. If you look at this, I am not a lawmaker. I am not a lawyer. I am not a judge. I am not a member of the CMA or the FTC. But I don't have to be a genius to look at this piece of paper in front of me and say that there is nothing they could say to hold back this deal. Right? And that is what I'm trying to say at the end of the day, is that Sony's got no dog in this race.
Hey, man.
Yes, Everboard.
See, the difference between me and Microsoft is that I'm petty. I think Microsoft, I think if Sony is going to drag this thing out and they don't want to sign a deal, I want Microsoft to be Rashad and treat Sony like Nunu. If you know, you know.
Of course, yeah, I do know. But see, Sony, this is what I'm trying to say.
What you just said there, Mag.
Yes.
Like, you see how you're not a lawyer, but you can't see how it is that they did that? That's the reason they're standing on stages holding the documents in there.
But I'm actually
once
starting
they
to
convince you of that,
right,
then they have you in their corner. Right, then you will be the one that picks up a pitchfork when
I don't think Sony's holding them back.
Happens.
I think that's a perception at this point. I think it's a perception that Sony's actually holding them back. They're guffawing and crying and moaning and bitching about it, but I actually don't think that they're holding back proceedings. I think that now, the longer this goes on, I mean, we've been talking about this for 13 months, right? If you think about
14
it.
now, I think.
14, sorry, 14 months now. Yeah, right. Jeez, it's halfway through March. My goodness. It's almost spring. So anyways, the thing is that we've been talking about it for 14 months. We've seen the evolution of this. And as we see the evolution, I'm starting to realize more and more that I think that by putting Sony up, in all the media and everything else, I think it just makes for great sensationalism with it, which of course sells you clicks and of course, makes you money from the traffic that people go see it, because it's all about, at the end of the day, what sells, guys? Drama. Yeah. Drama sells.
Oh, we're gonna get into that drama that someone got body drama checked. Yeah,
that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different, but that's different from a different reason. That, I believe, is politics, because it's Americans. It's got to be about politics and about this side or that side and nothing in between. There's a lot of civil war going on down there right now. So, but that's a whole different thing. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't think that Sony's holding this up. I actually believe that they were going to hold this up anyways in order to make sure it went through due process. Regardless of whether they needed to or not, they're going to do it when it's something this big because there's too much scrutiny from the outside. When you're looking at, no one's going to pass a $70 billion, $56 billion deal with the snap of a finger, go, yeah, go ahead, and just walk away with it. They're not going to do that. You know why? Because it's unprecedented. It'll open the door to everybody else saying, well, you did it for them.
Right.
Why not us, right? So you have to be straight across the board. So we'll see where this goes. I still don't think that Sony's as big of a player into this as people think it is, but we will see where it goes. But listen, I'm interested in talking about the FTC later because I got some things I got to say about those clowns, but we'll get into that in the second half of the show.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Crispy Bomb, let's get your hot take on this, brother. New deals being signed left, right, and center. Everybody wants to be a part of it except for Sony. Talk about it.
It's like Oprah. You get some games. You get some games. Gaz was right on point with that. And it's quite hilarious that Sony's sitting here with their thumb up their rear end and just saying we shall stand on this hill until it crumbles. And at this point, as every 10-year agreement comes out and Sony's refusal to do so, that hill is slowly deteriorating into nothing. And then they're going to be standing there having zero integrity, including, some of the things that, may or may not come out as the FTC goes along this investigation from their side, which will be interesting. But, most of us think that it's not going to get quite that far. But, thinking of the concerns and the amount of lawyers that have looked at these concerns and concessions and, whatever you want to call it at this point, you look at it and you say, they know exactly what they're doing. And they're just like, hey, what's a better sticking point than saying hundreds of millions of people are getting this game that may not have ever gotten it? Or we're throwing all Xbox games on this cloud service because, most of them run off Windows and it's not that hard to do. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that, you say, well, I've heard people say this. Why doesn't Nintendo get all the Xbox games? Try to put all Xbox games on Nintendo, because it's what platform it is. I mean, they act like it's a potato in the CMA, so they don't have to go that far. And why would they? If Nintendo wants Game Pass and all that on there, I'm sure Xbox will give it to them. You know what I mean? But that's the problem. They're not going to get any revenue from it, and that's what they don't like. Yeah, I mean, so you look at these type of things and you say, well, why is Sony continue to stand there and just take this? Because right now they're almost taking a beating. I mean, it does not look good. And you say, because they've already went too far with it. They fought so long now and they've said so much that now if they don't continue with it and they back off now when there's about to be actual, government agencies giving their verdict, they're just going to make themselves look worse in their opinion. So we're at a point where, as we see more agreements come out, there could be the possibility where this moves along a little bit quicker, depending on how many more agreements come out. I just want to address the Luna thing because they could possibly say, hey, we have, we are looking to move into these areas, and maybe that could be a sticking point. The problem I have is that Amazon is not going to help this deal at all, no matter which way, shape, or form. They don't want the unions. Okay. So that's the way I look at that. And then Apple is another, I mean, Apple Arcade's pretty big, people. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that, Apple's not going to play ball either. And that's not just because of the union thing. That's because they just never have liked each other. So there's a few big ones you're not going to see, but as all these smaller ones come into fruition and you see more and more and more and more, you're going to say, how possibly could this be blocked? And that's where I go with Boom and say, if this is blocked and there's another, let's say 5 deals after this, then you're going to say, what's going on here? And I think, the people that live in those government agencies are going to say, why are we paying taxes for that? This doesn't make any sense. And that's, I think me and Boom have been that way at this point, the way the FTC is acting, but the CMA and the EU have they've ridden that line pretty well. But, there's going to be a sticking point if things start to just like not look right. If it smells funny, yeah, there's probably something rotten under the table. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No. I mean, listen, that's a great point from everybody. This has been a great hour and 15 minutes. Big shout out once again to helping me get to 12K live on the air. That's super, super awesome. Real quick, couple super chats that popped in. Galvestron, who has been a channel member for 2 months, drops a very generous $10 super chat. It says, congrats on 12K. Family Plan plus Keystone will be a great combo. I would buy the Keystone for several family members and get them playing. Yeah, it is going to be a big deal. It's going to be an even bigger deal, Galvestron, once Microsoft retains the marketing rights after 2024, and they can take that new Call of Duty, whatever it is going to be, and slap it on their boxes. It's going to be just selling like hotcakes. Greggy 8TX dropped a very generous $5 super chat and says, kudos to Phil Oprah winning free. You get a deal. You get a deal. We all get a deal. Sony, deal with it. Very well said. We have Xbox BG drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, 12K, you are growing too fast, brother. Be careful. Sony's Jim Ryan is coming after you. Maybe, who knows? But let's move on to the body check that was done on the socials this afternoon by Lulu Cheng, EVP of Corporate Affairs and CCO at Activision Blizzard. Well, she has become the champion of, I guess, the Xbox fan base with the way that she has spoken about the deal publicly. Now, the account that she is speaking on is her personal account. She did something that shocked a lot of people in the industry last week or the week before, where she basically said something that Jim Ryan said behind closed doors in Brussels. And Jim Ryan basically said, I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I want to block your merger. And obviously, there were a lot of journalists that are pro-Sony coming for Lulu Cheng, who, if you don't know her, you should. She doesn't back down from a fight. Well, Ali Welsh, who is the senior editor at the UK version of Polygon, former editor-in-chief of Eurogamer, wrote an article where he called her to the carpet, and he basically and I'm going to read verbatim from what he wrote in his article. He says on Twitter, she quoted PlayStation chief Jim Ryan directly as saying, "I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger." Said Ryan spoke these words at the February 21st meeting. Interested parties in the deal and the EU's antitrust regulators were present. He goes on to say, and this is where he was body checked, folks, and Lulu put this in where she wrote, she highlighted in blue. It was shocking that Meservey or Lulu was willing to break the gentleman's agreement to keep what was said at the meeting confidential. Well, this is what she said in response to Ali Welsh, who's the senior editor over at the UK version of Polygon. She says this, folks. Hi, Ali. There was no such gentleman's agreement. He did not say that in a context where confidentiality was agreed. Could you please correct this? Please also feel free to check with me first in the future, not just for etiquette, but so that errors can be avoided. And she goes on to tell him, you are entitled to opine or scrutinize, but with respect, it seems unwarranted and unduly at hominin to declare that a woman you never gave a chance to comment looks like a bad guy for violating a gentleman's agreement that did not exist. I actually responded because I like Lulu and I have the pleasure of having spoken to her several times over social media, over on Twitter, and which I think is pretty cool for someone in her position and someone as small channel as I have. I wrote, I have to admit that the PlayStation # PlayStation gaming media defense force like Ali Welsh just got body checked and publicly embarrassed. Ouch. Awesome way to defend yourself, Lulu. I'm going to go first to Kay Asante on this. Kay Asante, for better or worse, Lulu has become the champion of social media when it comes to saying what she wants to say about social media. Especially, I mean, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, I don't think I'm the only one that is wearing a potential tinfoil hat. It does seem like the gaming media has turned its focus to write as many anti-Xbox articles as they can. Where is this coming from? What's the motivation? Is Sony, putting the screws to them? I don't know. But a lot of these sites have in the past been pro Sony, and this is just another example of that. Again, this is an old story. I don't know why Ali thought it was appropriate to bring it up now. I mean, he is reporting on old news at this point. And I do like the way Lulu handled herself. She did, get out there and ask him to correct it. And he had to answer her with his tail tucked between his legs. What are your thoughts?
No, I think they chose the wrong one. they picked the wrong one. It's been a while. We all know, whenever C-class executives speak, there's a certain way they speak. There's a certain way they have to speak. It's just tradition. It's how it's always been. We always want them to be human, but they speak in very much, disaffected language just to make sure they cover all their bases, right? And if you've done a little bit of light research on Miss Meservey, she actually speaks to others. She's a public speaker and she teaches public speaking. And like one of her first interviews I saw online, it was actually pretty hilarious. She says she goes for the, I quote, "Who the F is this person?" Vibe whenever anybody meets her. And she's just said that right from jump. She spoke with words that you would never hear a C-class executive speak with, and there's actually many interviews of her online and on YouTube of her teaching people how to speak and teaching people how to get out of the way, get out of that robotic speak to be able to connect with humans more, right? And say what you need to say. So I say all this to say they picked the wrong one, right? You chose the wrong person to go and try and push in the corner because she is a wordsmith. She's a lawyer, a word ninja, as it were, right? So, you're not going to be able to push her in that corner. So, once again, every time she lays another body on the ground digitally, we all laugh and we all point and we all go, hey, there goes another one. But she is literally systematically, dismantling all of this. She's dismantling the narratives that every C-class executive has to be a certain way and has to speak a certain way, and of course she's a woman, and in this environment, women always get treated a certain way. None of that is phasing her, and she's literally out here, throwing bodies left and right because if you're going to come at her, you must come with as much correct data and actual valid critique as you can, because she'll interface with you on that level, right? And clearly it seems like all these journalists are using that old method, that old tried and true method that, we're journalists, so if we push you in the corner, our consumers will be galvanized and stand behind us and make sure that you get what's coming to you. When in fact, the one by one, she's turning the tables on all of these people with their disingenuous arguments, right? It all stems from a specific place. We may or may not want to go to that place and have that conversation, but at the end of the day, she is not the one to be messed with. You could even check her pedigree, check the history to tell you that she's not the one to be messed with. And as the longer this goes on, the more folks will start learning that. And what I hope is that the next person that starts writing an article, like, goes and does the light bit of research that I did, just type her name into stuff and see what happens, see what comes up. Because the first thing you see is she is the person who's out here trying to teach others how to speak correctly to their consumer. So I don't think she's the type of person you want to be coming after. unless you are really, really loaded up for bear and you have all the details you need to have. So the idea that, it's a gentleman's agreement. Who said that? She didn't say that, right? It was never said anywhere that it was a gentleman's agreement. She just said that on February 21st, Jim Ryan said this. Those are the only details you know. So inferring all these other things, that'll get you with a dunce cap on you eventually, because when she catches that, she's coming after you, and she's absolutely right? So to me, this is just hilarious. I have hit follow, and I have hit turn on notifications, because every time she tweets, boy, somebody's about to be laid bare, and I'm there to watch it and laugh, because more often than not, she's putting people in their places that deserve it. So that's the
no. You know what? You know what? You know why I like about it? Sure, it's entertaining, right? Sure, it's fun to see someone get checked like that. But some of the people that she has checked publicly hold hefty positions in gaming journalism. Okay, and there's something to be said about the narrative that is this elitist journalism that's going on right now in gaming, right? Now, listen, say what you can say whatever you want. You want to disagree with me, that's fine. There is a male-driven, elitist boys club mentality in gaming journalism happening right effing now. And people like Lulu, people like Sarah Bond, who have no problem calling you out for it, it scares them. This is the same. This is it's the same but different. Why the journalistic community has an unbelievable distaste for podcasters like us right now, because we are not held to these industry behind the door standards that go on with people like, let's say, Sony. Oh, if I say something anti-Sony, I won't get a game. Well, you know what, Sony? You can keep your game, because I buy them anyway. I don't need anything from anybody. I buy everything, so it's perfectly fine. I'm going to say, and usually it's respectively, because I like being proper. I like putting out positive content. I like being a proper gentleman. The gaming journalism that we see each and every day, and that have been called to the carpet by someone like Lulu, are not used to that. And I'm here for it, because some change has to happen.
Gatekeeping has been allowed to prevail for too long. So this goes. It's the same thing about everybody coming out with, like, as soon as some positive news comes out about Xbox, there's a whole sea of negative news coming out. It's almost like we cannot let the wall that has stood for so long be broken. So they have to quickly come and shore up the wall, And this is falling within that same trap. But unfortunately, again, they picked the wrong one, because she's out here with verbal daggers for days, and you better come correct if you have something to say about her. So there you go.
Absolutely. Mag, let's go to you, brother, because obviously you got to get it here at 9 o'clock, and we're going to probably run a little bit longer. Let's get your hot take on this. Again, gaming journalism called to the carpet. Someone that is in a pretty high position in gaming. Came out, wrote an article, did not do a simple Google search to find out exactly what was said or how it was said. And I'm sure, all of these high-class journalistic, that have so quote unquote journalistic integrity, all talk with one another, because that's what you do in boys' clubs, right? And I'm sure that that it was never mentioned anywhere that there was a quote unquote gentleman's agreement on not saying it. In fact, I am thrilled that she said it, because now people know that Jim Ryan, really does not want any kind of a deal. He just wants to block it, and that is a problem.
Right. Listen, I have no love lost for these journalists, quote unquote journalists, that's going on these days anyway, because a lot of what's going on, and we've been seeing it, and it's been very prevalent over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer. Let's say from 2016 and on, I've been noticing a little bit more. Wonder why.
It started in 2013, to be honest.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I'm talking about in the broad spectrum of things. But what I'm seeing here, okay, these quote unquote journalists that are coming out now, and even the ones that are more established, what they're doing is that they're actually taking notes from these new guys and gals coming in here or whatever, right? And what's happening is they're not being held accountable for what they're saying, because what's happening now is that it's no longer about the integrity of the job. It's about how many clicks you can get with which however much bull crap you can shovel on there, as long as someone clicks on it, it's become, for all you Americans and Canadians out there, Dutch, I don't know if you know what this thing is about this thing. It's now become the National Enquirer of the entire world. Okay, when you walk by, okay, you guys get a National Enquirer out there. Okay, there you go. Aliens ate my baby while you're standing in line at the grocery store, right? And you look over, you go, well, shoot, I got to pick up that and I got to read it, right? This is the same thing. What they do is they put up sensational, unresearched garbage, and they do it just to get a rise out of people, emotion. Because what does that do? Emotion, anger or happy, angry or happy or whatever, will get a response. And when it gets a response, it gets you to click. And when it gets you to click, they make their lousy money. Okay, and this is what's happening. And so they're not being held accountable for that reason. Now, here's the other thing. When it comes to these journalists, any douche with a phone can write an article in between Apex Legends matches, okay? And that's what these guys are doing. Just read these articles. Spelling mistakes. They just don't, like, it's unbelievable. Like, it's like they never studied at all in school, never even graduated high school. Look at the grammar. Look at, like, it's unbelievable. I'm like, who wrote this? A 4-year-old? And like, it's unbelievable. But you know why? Because they're slamming away on their phone, send, and it's automatically sent up there, and it's called an article. I could write 10,000 articles a day if I wanted to. And that's what these guys are doing. But the problem is, when you do that, and then when you put something, like I said, spin, which is out of control, especially from the Trump era and on. And I'm not talking about the Trump supporters or Trump. It's been just trying to get people to fight each other on who likes him, who doesn't like him. And this is where it's spun out of control, really. It's always been there. Spin's always been there. But they've been riling people up on both sides since 2016 because that's been getting people to click on stuff, and it's making them a fortune. What happened when Trump didn't get reelected? The news media was pissed because they're saying we're losing money because people aren't watching us because they either love him or hate him. The same thing with the gaming industry. That's why I brought that up. Sony and Xbox is exactly the same thing. Right? And so what they're doing is that they're trying to rile up one side or the other. So you've got spin, you've got any form of personal messaging and virtue signaling, whatever they want to do. But then someone old school comes along and calls you out on it. And boy, do you ever look like a damn fool. And you know what happens? If you remember those Looney Tunes cartoons where your mouth gets sucked in, where it looks like someone put it, right? That is exactly what happened when someone says, excuse me, what did you say I said? And the minute you say that, see, that's the problem with these people, right? They don't think that you're going to call them out on it. They think you're just going to let it slide. Or they think I'm untouchable because I write for fill in the blank, right? I don't want to say too many names just in case I piss somebody off because I'll bump into them at E3. They're like, hey, aren't you that mag that said that about me? Maybe. But anyways, that's what was going to happen. And that's what happens when they call you out. And when Lulu calls them out and says, you know what? I didn't say it like this. I didn't say it like that. You better fix this, whatever. It makes them look like a damn fool. They lose their integrity, which they never had to begin with. And then, and this is what happens. And so this is what needs to happen. People need to be held accountable for what they say, especially now. Okay, now that anybody with a phone can be a journalist, I could write an article with this phone right here, right now, and then some people will take it as truth. I could just make up anything, and it will be taken as truth, and people will run with it for days. I could say that Xbox is lined up to buy Naughty Dog right after the ABK deal, and people will go nuts for about 3 days. Then it'll die down. But you know what? The traffic that I would get for those 3 days would be enough to get people. Oh, here's an example. Okay. When Sony bought Bungie, I, as a joke on Twitter, okay, this is a perfect example. On Twitter, the next day I posted, just to be a jackass, I said, so does that mean Sony owns Halo now? Everybody
I remember that. I
remember that tweet. Yeah.
1,000 people come to that tweet losing their minds. And I'm like, you see what I'm talking about, folks? That was a social experiment in stupidity. Don't forget, 98% losers, 2% winners when it comes to the population of this world. So that's what I'm trying to get at. The point is that what she did is she held somebody accountable. This is what needs to happen moving forward so that people can, A, keep their integrity. So when people are talking about them, they're not just talking smack in order to fill their narrative for whatever they're trying to write about. And the other thing is, too, we have to stop. We have to stop clicking on this garbage. Please, I implore everybody in the chat, the panel, people listening to the show afterwards, stop clicking on the garbage that's sent out everywhere. Stop sharing it on social media. Don't give these people power. Just don't look. Just don't look. You remember that from The Simpsons? Come on, man. We got to say yes, everyone.
Mag, that's a super important point.
Yes.
Because what happens is we will share it to admonish it. We share it to say, look at this BS, but they still got the share.
That's what I'm trying to say. So when people share, they go, look at what this idiot said. I'm like, you just did what they wanted. You can call him an idiot all day, but that guy just made money off of you sharing it because now everybody
else.
That's
why they said it. So
right. So, you know, the problem is the curiosity will not stop people from doing it. That's the problem. And the curiosity, people say, well, what did this idiot say? So they go click, and the guy just goes, he just made his money.
Do you notice that Lulu does not click attach a link? She
does not. And that's very good point, Asante. Thank you very much. She is clearly on the same page. She's addressing it without promoting it. Yep. That is the way you do it. And I've actually, you know what? I will commend some people on social media. They will take a screenshot of an article or something that someone says and not actually link it and say, look at what this jackass wrote about this, that, and the other thing. And they post a screenshot of it so that you don't share it and spread it out so that they get more notoriety from it. And that is something that's very important. By the way, to commemorate, I'm going to shut up now, but to commemorate the 12,000 right here, we've got the 100% puro de agave, El Tesoro. This is a special reserve straight from Mexico, guys. This is the real deal stuff.
Cheers.
And I will be opening this bottle. It's got a stone top on it and everything. And of course, funny enough, I'm going to be using my favorite Freddy Krueger shot glass.
Of course you are.
Yes, we are going to do that in honor of the 12,000 Boom. Congratulations, brother. It's been one hell of a journey for you. And you know what? Honestly, for 3 years, it's been a journey for me too with you. And you know what? When you do that, when you reach a milestone like this and all these milestones lately, honestly, it's like when someone in your family, something, you know what I mean? Like something good happens to them, you feel like it's happened to you. You know what I mean? So I feel proud. I feel happy. And I hope that anything that's come out of this stupid mouth of mine has been just something to even just help you along to get you to that goal. And I'm just proud to be a part of it. That's all I wanted to say. But anyways, congratulations, brother. Love you and can't wait to see you guys.
I love you too, brother. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mag, really quick, just to add to your point, right? In terms of calling people out, you know what it made me think of? You know that clip that's going around of Bethany Mandel where they asked her to describe their definition of woke, and then she completely imploded. And that is exactly what Lulu's doing, right? It's like you're just saying things, you're saying words, right? There's word-shaped air coming out of your mouth. What does that actually mean? And most people, when you press them, they got nothing.
They got like I said, they got the Looney Tunes mouth. Because they don't know what to say.
I feel like I should say pause for that. Anybody?
That's all, folks.
Based on the numbers today, you should be saying right because I think it's 26 and counting. Keep going.
Holy mackerel!
Oh my goodness, people are dead. Thank you. We've just killed everybody with the drinking games.
Mag's just going to go for the bottle at this point. It's not.
There you go. Go for it, brother.
Hargeet, let's get your hot take on this. Again, obviously you guys do a lot of really fun and interesting and pushing things, if you will, over on Game On Daily. We know that that we've seen Jason Schreier get assaulted, even though it's not really him. We've seen Gaz do some really. I didn't even know Gaz knew how to rap, and he did a whole rap video. It was pretty good. I like seeing this because, like I said, I don't like the gaming media personally. I don't think all of them are bad because you can never put everybody under an umbrella. I would never do that. That's wrong to do. But there is a status quo. There is a boys' club, an elitist mentality, and seeing Lulu out there, making sure that people are cool to the carpet is phenomenal. And again, we've seen her do this with people that are considered in very high positions within gaming media. This is some of the stuff they've done are on the level of children. Like, do some research if you're supposed to be so elite, do your research, and they don't, and then they get embarrassed like this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the opposite of what Microsoft does, right? So they have to play politically correct and be very nice and cordial,
right?
And so far, Activision has been sort of like in your face, and she's certainly taking that and running with it. It's been great. I think it's direct and just like, here's what we think. There you go, and correcting somebody that's kind of cool too. But hey, look, ultimately the journalists can write whatever they want. If she wanted to take it up, they could go to court and say, hey, where the heck did you get this? This is, is it libel when it's print, something like that, whatever it is, right? But but she's just like, hey, correct this, dude. It's just wrong, right? And whatever back and forth they had, she's just like, no. There was no agreement. I don't know where you get this stuff. What are you talking about? So pretty cool, right? I'm not going to read too much into it. She's obviously going to make money off of this. So she's absolutely wanting the deal, but it is funny to see. I like the interaction. You don't usually see that from executive VPs, senior management, CC level, C-suite level people. But it is funny to see somebody actually just tell you like it is, right? Here it is. But yeah, I can't imagine that realistically happening too much from Microsoft. Aaron has said some interesting things, but it hasn't really been to this level. So this is kind of fun. But yeah, it's good that she's being clear about what's been happening, right? So we're getting. I think the
closest you can get, Hargeet, is maybe Pete Hines. He seems like the kind of guy who would lay it flat if need be, but he's closest. I think
he's still. He's still very nice.
He still tries to nice it up, but you can tell nice. If you irritate him, he may lay you out. He's the closest I've seen that might do that.
But yeah, she's not going too crazy either, right? She's just being, hey, no, this is what happened. I don't know why you have it this way. I don't know how you got it wrong. Fix it, right? It's like, fair enough, whatever, right? But yeah, it's almost like the let's wait for the next one from her thing, right? Like, she's gonna have something interesting to add to the mix. So yeah, it's like, so every time there's news, it's like, what is she gonna say? Right? Let's find out her tweet, right? Yeah, I kind of like the openness, the direct, like, this is where we are and we want this deal to go through, and I'm just gonna keep feeding you info. Here you go. Right. So it's kind of,
well, nice. It to be completely honest, it does really, the information that she put out there last week, Hargeet, was damning, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Again, this is something that was behind closed doors. We would never know about it, but it really does zero in on Jim Ryan's motivation on how nothing Microsoft could offer would be good enough. And obviously, it does put Sony in a really, really ugly light that this is out there, that your whole purpose is not to try and get a better deal. It is literally to not get a deal at all and block this one. And he said that. And you know who says that? People that are the market leader that are not afraid of repercussions.
Yeah.
And that's,
It is pretty annoying. But look, it's not like we didn't all know that's what he's doing.
No, we all knew it, but it was confirmed.
It's funny that he said it. He actually just said it. Like, wow. You really just said that to them, right? Even if it was like to a friend.
The quiet part out loud.
See, my question about it, Hargeet, my question is, what was the context of what he said? That's what I want to hear, the whole sentence, though. Because there's no way he came out of the blue unless he was pissed drunk. There's nobody he just was like, I'm just going to want that deal to get blocked. Obviously, there was a sentence before and after it, right? That's what I want to hear, the whole story.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like when you watch the news, you're like, this happened, but they show you 4 seconds of the 2 minutes.
Yep.
You're not getting the context.
Yeah, and like where in that process did it happen? Were they like meeting, like they were like in a snack area or something? And
doesn't it seem a little weird?
Like,
you don't.
Hey, why didn't you respond to us? We were calling you, man. Like, he's like,
can you pass me a scone? By the way, I'm gonna get this deal blocked. It's I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't, and it could have been directly while they were doing all the back and forth, and I assume a conference room or courtroom or whatever, right? So whichever way they were doing it, it's probably just a conference room, but so
it could have been in that context, or it probably was more like chit chatting, and she just blurted it out, which is freaking awesome, right? But yeah, and she probably wasn't the person that he was actually talking to, and she just overheard it, right? Whatever, and told us what he said. So yeah, it would be interesting to get like the play by play at some point, right? How this whole thing went. We'll probably get like 15, 20 years down the line. How did Microsoft buy these 5 publishers, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something like that.
I want to write a book. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's gonna do it. But yeah, I as far as like the media, I've said it before, like the media has to follow where the market and the players are, and Sony is the biggest player, and they have to kind of continue to cover them, and the market follows that, right? They're the big player base. Those players want to read stuff that's good for Sony, right? So that's just kind of how it goes. And so do I begrudge them making money off of that? No. Do they sometimes do scummy things? Everybody does. So it is what it is, right? So I just kind of take it as it is. Whenever you're looking at anything in the media, unless they're giving you exact quotes, exact facts, you have to read, just read between the lines. They're all giving you the narratives that they want to give you, so they make you go the way to the direction you want to, they want you to go. Yep. So that's just par for the course across any media. It just is what it is. So I just take it as that's just the way it is, right? If I'm getting any facts out of it, I got something good. I can take that and then go figure out my own thing. I don't need their whatever from there, right? They have their own ideas. That's great. But I just need facts, and I can go take the facts and figure out what's going on from there. But that's just par for the course for media for me.
Yeah, no, good stuff, brother. Wandering Dutch, let's get your take on this. You've called a couple of media elitists to the carpet a couple of times. What are your thoughts on what happened today?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when people do that, and they should rightfully be called out for misinformation, because it happens all too often. And Lulu's doing it extremely well in the fact that she's being very precise in her language, but she's also being very calm. And she's not resorting to name calling or anything like that. She's just getting straight to the point. She's being very professional in the method in which she's calling these people out, saying, listen, I've got absolutely no problem with you quoting me. However, if you're going to quote me, at least make it factual. These are the facts. This isn't what happened. Like, yes, he quoted this, but it wasn't a gentleman's agreement. There was no gentleman's agreement existed. And I don't know why people put so much foundation on a gentleman's agreement in business, because it is business. You can, unless everything's signed on a dotted line and there was an actual legal obligation to not speak on these things, then there is absolutely no reason for not to be able to communicate these things outside. And gentlemen's agreements do not stand by that regardless. And I very much doubt, however, that Jim Ryan's making any gentleman's agreement with anybody. Let's face it, he's not making any agreements contractually or otherwise. So why is he going to be making gentleman's agreements about what's said in a room? At this point, if you're saying something as wild as what he said, that isn't something that you want people to restrict. You're like, oh, well, if you're so confident, you'll stand by the words you said. If that is truly what you think, then you will stand by those words. So he's not going to come out and deny it, because if he denies it, then he wants a deal. If he agrees that that's what he said, then he's confident in his approach. And another thing I would kind of say on the back end of this as well is there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, like Sony are trying to be like the good guys here and defend X, Y, and Z. Listen, both companies are going to do what they need to do in order to get their positions put forward. But the only thing Sony is showing here is their playbook of how they would go down if they were in the position of buying Activision Blizzard. If they had the option to buy Activision Blizzard and were in the same position Microsoft were, what they are saying Microsoft could do is exactly what Sony would do. That is why they're putting these options out and these opinions out. Well, Microsoft could make a mess of the game afterwards. But why would they do that, Sony? Why would the game be buggy afterwards? Why would that happen? Why are you suggesting these things? Is that something you would do? Wait a minute. Hasn't there been loads of games that have been preferentially marketed towards Sony through deals that somehow, for no reason other than, for no reason that we can think of, happen to perform better on your platform and need patching considerably on Microsoft's platform.
Well,
That's not a strange coincidence.
Protocol.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Isn't that a strange coincidence, Sony? Pot kettle black. So, yeah, there's no good guy in this situation. There's only people venting the exact things that they would do, and that's the only reason Sony is suggesting all of these wild things to regulators, is because it's exactly how they would do things if they were in Microsoft's position.
Yep. Well, they're doing it now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah. No, I mean, listen, you're absolutely right. It's funny because you're not the only person to actually have said that live on a podcast. The behavior that they are suggesting is exactly what they have done, what they're doing now, and what they did to, again, understand, folks, no one's taking away Sony what they've done to become a market leader. They have great games. They may not be for you. They're for me. I like their single-player stuff.
But also this, Boom, they've been ruthless when they've needed to be ruthless. They've ended hardware when they needed to be on top of the market. That's why we don't have the Sega Dreamcast. That's why that's why the Super Nintendo took a massive knock. They were originally working with Nintendo to do a CD version of the Nintendo. That got scrapped and the PlayStation was announced. Then the Sega Dreamcast came out. So there's a lot of things that Sony have done purposefully to damage competition in order to get a leg up. So there's in the history of Sony, in the history of Microsoft, they've both done things that have been a leg up for themselves that have hurt the competition. There's no clear thing here. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Boom.
Yeah, no, and that is why they were trying to hold out as much as they could with the FTC to not bring those documents into the conversation, which we know are coming 2019, January 1st, 2019 to present. We're going to get a chance. Hopefully we'll see what those marketing deals look like. And, well, Sony is definitely going to be called out for it. Crispy Bomb, let's get your hot take on this. I know that you were loving this, so we were going back and forth in DMs. Talk about it.
Oh, it's quite funny. And, I'm going to go this route because nobody really took this. And, I was reading the paper the other day because, actual paper, like not on your phone or on a
an actual real paper. Look at
paper.
You.
Yes, we have a local paper, covers 3 towns. And I had this thought after I saw Lulu call them out and what she said. And I said, man, I was reading this article the other day and they were talking about somebody, not quoting someone, talking about them. And they said this person declined to comment. And I said, light bulb, hello, why don't we see this anymore? You might see this in your local newspaper. This used to be a thing. This was called journalistic integrity. If you weren't able to get a source comment from, you either had to put they declined to comment or you weren't really, citing a person as a source. Nowadays, it's just like off the cuff, whatever you want to say. And that's where
Dude Bro told me.
And that's so like, hypothetically, you could say, well, I've received, he didn't even put I've received, this information saying that it was a gentleman's agreement, anything like that. You could have asked Lulu for a comment from what she literally said. And I think she's looking for these people to actually ask her. And I think this is something that has been lost in journalism. And it's pretty sad because when a local paper can do it and go out of their way and at least call the person or email them or something, you know what I'm saying? If they don't comment, okay, you put they decline the comment and you continue on your thing. All right. But when you can't even go and do that, and I see it time and time again, unless it's a quote, it's almost like this made up thought process. And then you're bringing up people, but you never even asked their opinion or their, what, they feel is what they were saying or anything like that. And if we can't do that, get back to that, at least somewhat, especially in gaming journalism, it's going to be pretty sad because more and more of these things are going to happen. And good on her for calling it out. And more people need to do that. Even if you're a little, just say, hey, this is not right. You could have asked me for a comment. And maybe we'll get back to what I consider journalistic integrity. That is all.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, straight to the point. I love the fact that you said you should have saw Kesante's face. You write a paper, like an actual paper in your hands.
With
That's
trees?
old school. Like I can't believe
you took
this
down
is
a
great.
tree.
I love it.
Like what?
That is good stuff.
It's all recycled now, Keisante. Come on.
Yeah. Listen, Mr. Free Shoes, let's get your final take. I'll catch up on the super chats and we'll get everybody out of here on time. Listen, you love this stuff because when people call you out, you love handing out free shoes. You've been saying that for weeks. And you had to do it today again to some people.
Philanthropist. That's what he is.
Yes. Yeah, he works. He's a good worker.
Send
talk
me
about
your
it, man.
Barefoot and hungry.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my goodness.
Give them free shoes.
Yeah. Listen, you can't say no to free. Talk about it, man.
So here's the thing, right? And I think Mag, you brought on a lot of stuff in the sort of post-Trump era. This is not about politics, but we have come into a world where if you don't like the news, you can just call it fake, right? You can just call it and say it's bad. And so I think that's one problem. But one thing that I think was a positive of this whole weird era that we are in and getting out of is we now see the slant of people. Like the grass is cut and there's a lot of snakes showing. So when these people that we look at for, news, and we look at them as impartial, we start to see, no, that's not really the case. And most of the just game journalism in general, we kind of start to see that opinion is conflated with facts, right? And so now you have opinion pieces going out, and the problem, there's nothing wrong with opinion pieces. They just should be labeled as such because these opinions are now shaping narratives. These opinions are presented. I didn't say it again, Joaquin. I did not. I refuse to believe that.
Bet. I hear you speaking, and I think he got you shook because you keep calibrating your words extra.
Right, and I know that I'm not saying it. Well, I just said it right now, but I didn't say it before.
He got you shook. I can hear it in your voice, bro. It's so hilarious. I'm sorry.
So say right as many times as you feel it's necessary. Right. That's what I said.
Just let it go, bro. Let it go.
Say embrace it now. Embrace it.
That's right.
I gotta own it, right? So that's the thing with all of this, and it shows you that most people that go into this business of games journalism, they came into it as fans, right? That's why you would do this. That's why you would cover games over politics, over finance, over any other topic you could cover, right? Mm-hmm. So I said it again. I know I don't care anymore. I'm just
Everborn, what are we all doing here right now in this podcast? Why did we what brought us here?
Fandom. That's what brought us together.
We brought us together.
Fans of gaming.
And
that's
so does this mean that if and when any of us become journalists, we're going to become like pro Xbox journalists that are going to start throwing hate at Sony whenever possible?
No, see, they do that. Well, they do that for the cash. That's why.
Well, true. Okay.
Here's the
I've got integrity.
Right? Everyone is in the business to make money, right? Cash grab. Everything is a cash grab, right? The art in the Sistine Chapel. I don't care anymore. I'm just saying it. The art in the Sistine Chapel was a cash grab. It was a paid. It was a commissioned work from Michelangelo, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just what it is. Everything's a cash grab. Now, the point in all of this is we need to be able to decipher what is opinion and what is actual fact, right? There's nothing wrong with having a slant. I'm an Xbox guy, right? What you want is objectivity. And the problem is so many of these people, there's this chip on their shoulder and they can't just say, I have this opinion, right? They want to pretend that we are the fans and they're just above board. Where you can say, listen, I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm an Xbox guy. It is what it is. Now take everything I say with that grain of salt, but they don't want to say that. And because they don't say that, we end up where we are. Now, as to the Jim Ryan quote, he said the quiet part out loud. We know from day one, they didn't want to take a deal. When 2 days after the deal was announced, Phil Spencer said he called them and offered them to extend the deal that they had. And Jim Ryan said, that's not good enough. It's inadequate. We knew that he would never take a deal. We knew Sony would never take a deal. And like you said, Dutch and Crispy and everybody else, this is the time when the decision gets made. In 6 weeks, the deal will be passing or not passing, right? 6 weeks from now, we will have decisions from the CMA and the EU. And if you didn't accept all this time, now when they're making the decision, when it actually matters, you are never going to accept it. I wouldn't. No one in Jim Ryan's position would accept that deal right now. It would be foolish. And if he does accept it now, he should be fired, right? You didn't fight for 14 months to, in the last minute, say, okay, I'm going to take the deal. So I get it. And again, he said what is true. I honestly appreciate him saying that. The problem is they are going to, if you look at their responses to the CMA, they're saying Microsoft is not negotiating in good faith. They don't want to negotiate with us, but you don't want a deal. Right? So you can't have it both ways.
See, that's what's the surprising part about it, Everborn. We, like you said, we've already known their true objective, but saying that out loud, being such a tacticianer as we have anointed him, he belongs on the Mount Rushmore of snitches, right? He has really threaded that needle perfectly, and then at the last minute, you play poker and flip your cards backwards like that.
But no one,
you're counteracting your own message.
Looking at this though, right? Okay, they know Sony was never going to take a deal. But this is not about them. This is not about them taking a deal. This is about regulators ensuring that there are certain protections in place. Right? So at the end of the day, why even hide what we all know? Like, water is wet.
But won't that kill their chances with the regulatory bodies when you're saying you're being earnest, but in fact you're lying?
No, because the deal is going to go through without them anyway, right?
I was under the impression that if you are trying to make a point that this deal is bad for the industry, when you're not being earnest, that the deal ultimately is bad for Sony because they're going to be they don't want change. So lying to regulators, again, I don't understand business law. I understand that if I went up to testify against someone and I perjured myself, I would lose my job. I would be in big trouble. You understand what I'm saying? So I see the point, everyone over here. They're not being forthcoming with their information. And I think really that's what's annoying to look at this. We know that they don't want a deal. We're well aware of that. But they are lying about everything. And Jim Ryan is, I understand he's doing what he's supposed to do, but there comes a point where the being disingenuous has to cost them at some point.
Well, here's the thing, right? They are telling, if you read their, I think it's 13 pages, maybe it's 16 pages, but I think it's 13 pages. Their response to remedies is specifically, we don't want a deal. We do not want behavioral remedies. We will only accept, if you want our opinion, the only thing we are comfortable with is divestiture of Activision or prohibition.
Yeah.
So they are saying this to the regulators, and the cat is out of the bag at this point. When you are in the fourth quarter, you're in overtime, it's no time to play games. We don't want the deal to happen. That's it. Right. And now's the time to say it. And I personally don't think they will be successful. And regulators Microsoft does not need Sony to sign the deal for it to go through.
Right.
If they can sign enough deals around the industry and they can make sure that that the laws that are on the books, they don't trigger any alarms or whatever, they can fight it in court. Right. And so I am refraining from calling the CMA clowns until they actually make a move to block the deal.
Right.
Right. So they haven't done that yet. So you have to let this play out, because we're not going to say they're clowns.
No, I wouldn't say that anyway. I said if the deal was blocked, right, I would call for corruption. That would be my angle on it, because at that point, if everyone is saying yes and they're saying no, then they don't have the interest of the people. They have the interest of Sony and Jim Ryan, and that's a problem.
And the more deals that Microsoft signs, it drives that point home. Are you on the side of all the unions around the world? Are you on the side of all the cloud providers around the world? Are you on the side of every other person making video games apart from Sony? Or are you going to protect the market leader?
Yeah.
And if they do that, good luck explaining that to whoever you answer to, whether it's a judge or Cat or whoever else.
Yeah,
or the realm of public opinion, where they keep holding contracts up and say, see, we're helping them, but they're not signing. They're trying to empower you to grab that pitchfork on their behalf, and it looks like it's working.
Yeah.
Careful, Kay. They're going to call that Trump tactics.
Oh, good grief. Listen, first of all, a big shout out once again. We had over 640 people here, which is amazing. Obviously, this channel continues to grow. We hit 12K live on the air. That is a huge, huge accomplishment. We've had some really big things happen for the channel, specifically in the month of March. I put the merch link in there if you want to go and you want to check out some of the stuff that was designed by Ben Kenobi, The Richter, and Sean Labrie. Please check it out. Those three artists are responsible for not only helping Mrs. Boom and I get the merch store up off the ground, but redesigning the whole channel, from intros to overlays to just the presentation of the actual YouTube channel. It's been a heck of a 2023. Let me catch up on these super chats. Yes, sir.
Boom, just one more. I want to make one more point before we.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know we're going to close this up. So, something I've been thinking about a lot is post deal, whether it's blocked or it goes through. And I know I have said, and a lot of people have said, there are no consequences. Jim Ryan's doing what he's supposed to do. But we now have regulators from all around the world looking into the gaming industry that they've largely ignored for the last 30 years. The last time regulators really looked into the industry was when the ESRB was formed, because they, it was like adult stuff and blood and Mortal Kombat, right? And that was when Nintendo was in Sony's spot, right? Using regulators to their advantage. So now we've kind of deemed highly successful IP in the gaming industry, unlike any other form of entertainment. We've deemed successful franchises as essential inputs. So anyone trying to acquire anything now has to say, or if you just make something that becomes very big, are regulators now going to say you can't make any exclusive deals if something is popular? If exclusive high profile content is anti-competitive, what does that say about the whole industry? And regulators don't just stop at an acquisition. All of this is on their radar now. So what do they do after this, now that they have all this information? And Could regulators turn an eye on the gaming industry that has largely run based on exclusivity and these kinds of deals and contracts? Could regulators now look at, you know, a lot of these things that happen? They will say, yes, sure, Sony, tell us everything. Oh, big bad Microsoft's going to get you? Yeah, give me more documents. How do those contracts work? Oh, that's right. Crossplay? Okay. Right? So I wonder if when this is all said and done, the fight may not have been worth it.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I think the fight might not have been worth it. Yeah. I think that they might have bit off more than they can chew. And I think that once the documents that they have to deliver to the FTC do make their way to public record, which they will, so there will be several things that will be redacted for sure, especially when it comes to certain numbers and certain business practices and things. But most things are going to be out there. At least they're going to find their way out there, because once it hits public record, it becomes public record, and we'll be able to take a look at it. And then we'll start seeing people posting some of their deals that are written as anti-Xbox deals, which is, of course, anti-competitive. And I think that they might find themselves in a bit of a pickle, if you will.
And what you just said is what they put in like Microsoft's response was like, hey, you know, Sony's complaining that they won't have Call of Duty on an equal playing field. Guess who doesn't have Call of Duty on an equal playing field? PC and Xbox. Because we get ripped off because we pay the same amount and we don't get all the content.
Sony. Are you saying we aren't able to compete, regulators?
Yeah.
So
there you go.
They put that in there. It's like, well, if you want, you know, the status quo where Sony gets everything and we don't, well, how's that fair? We're the minority player. We're not getting all the content. That's what they wrote, and it's a fair point to whatever Warren was saying. What you're saying, it's a fair point. If you want equal treatment, Microsoft's offering that to everybody.
Yeah, Sony is not currently. Right. Listen, good stuff. Listen, real quick, Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $10 super chat, and this is pretty cool. He says, I remember seeing you, Boom, get your first start on Mooch's channel, which of course is Crossfire, many, many years ago. And he says, I knew from then this guy got something, and that something is passion and heart. Dude, thank you so much. Kudos, Boom. So proud and glad to be on the ride. Thank you very much, Nightwolf, for the very, very kind words. Of course, thank you for the generosity. That is, you know, like I said, the super chats and the channel memberships are awesome, but it's comments like that, folks. Honestly, I'm a very passionate dude. I sometimes, I'm maybe too much for myself. I get, very loud, do the New York thing. I love gaming. I love this community. I love the men that are here that work with me each and every week on the shows. And I'm very honored and incredibly privileged to do that. And to have an audience that actually really enjoys the work that we all do is, it's sometimes I don't have the words to express how grateful I actually am. So thank you for that. On the bright side, drops a very generous $5, which Jen says, to get a deal, will Sony have to agree to content parity, giving up Call of Duty marketing rights? They're going to lose the rights after 2024. That's the last, the contract is over 2024. 2025, they might have gone back to the table with Activision, but at that point, Microsoft owns the company. They're never getting marketing rights back ever again. That's just the way it is. Microsoft bought they didn't buy the cow, they bought the whole farm. He goes on to say, giving up Call of Duty marketing rights and distribution of all Call of Duty games on Game Pass when the deal closes. Like I said, it's games. Call of Duty games will be on PlayStation. They're just not going to have the marketing rights the same way that, like for instance, Microsoft can't talk about Call of Duty or put Call of Duty on their boxes for the holidays to make you buy a console because it has Call of Duty in there. Sony can, and that's going to change after next year. From Azores, drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, big hug from the Azores and living in Canada. Hey, brother, thank you so much for the generosity. Thank you for the hug. I feel it all the way from Canada. That's really cool. Angry Hippie drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, someone should put a montage of Lulu's tweets to drowning pools, let the bodies hit the floor. That is dope. I love that idea. Oh my God. Hey, Blinken drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, Mag nailed it. 16th president seal of approval. Indeed. Rain G4. Hey, what's up, Rain? How you feeling, brother? He drops a $5 super chat and says, Phil should buy the building IGN is operating in, so they bash. So if they bash Xbox or buy IGN, either way, still have advertising Xbox content. Yeah, that would be hilarious if they bought IGN. But you don't want that stink on you. Don't do it. Seth Garfunkel drops a $5 super chat and says, Lulu is endearing herself to Phil and will be communications director of Xbox after the merger is complete. I don't know, man. I mean, they need somebody to run Activision. I mean, I've been saying I think Sarah Bond is perfect for that position, but I think Lulu could run the company just as well. I mean, either one would be great. A great person to run it. It's going to be very interesting. I am going to say, though, from the human aspect of the deal that I am very proud to say that we've been talking about on this program for a long time, I really can't wait for the workers, the people, the human beings that actually make the freaking games are going to have confidence in where they work, because real change is going to come that way. And I think that really is the story. Yes, it's almost $70 billion. Yes, it's freaking Call of Duty, but there's so much in between that I can't wait to see happen. Change is going to happen in a big way for that company and their workers, and I'm all for it, especially that they're going to be unionized. I think that is huge. It's a big thing that no one is really talking about, and that's the people. And I'm glad that we, at least here, talk about them. We also have CJ Mike 1024. Wow, just a very generous $15 super chat and says, congratulations on 12K. Thank you so much, brother. Mr. Boomstick, love your show and panel. This firefighter, this firefighter down here in Texas has nothing but love for you. Listen, shout out to you, brother. Listen, I actually took the test to be a firefighter and a police officer. I took both. And as a kid, people don't know this. This is a little bit between the lines stuff. I was working in a deli, and I was frying eggplant, and I slipped because they had mopped the floor. And this hand, as you can see, I got no scars. It went into the pan, and the hot oil hit me across the face here. Now, you can see I got very, very lucky. I had second-degree burns on half of my face, and I have no scars, it's unbelievable. I have a little redness here you can't see, but it's very small. After that, I got called. I said, no, I'm gonna go and be a police officer because I'm never getting burnt again. And shout out to you, brother. Being a firefighter, hardest job on the planet. You go in when everyone else is running out. So shout out to you, brother, for the service, and of course, thank you so much for the congratulations. On the bright side, just very generous $10 super chat and says, Mag, thank you for explaining what I really saw and heard from 11/4/20 to 1/6/21. I knew I shouldn't have trusted my own lying eyes and ears. Man, stop with the politics veiled in the points you make. I mean, he's allowed to have an opinion, dude. And you know what? I mean, he's not wrong. It's just you guys have different opinions. But I definitely appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate you being here, brother. Silent Cypher, part of course, the Xbox International podcast. He drops a $5 super chat and says, they don't say it is their personal opinion, because that doesn't draw the same level of traffic. If it bleeds, it leads. And unfortunately, he is correct in saying so. But listen,
anger drives way more engagement.
Anger does drive clicks. It does drive content. It does drive engagement. It's a shame, and it's probably why the good guy channels, like Keasante's and mine and Wandering Dutch, and we see what they do over at Game On Daily. Even though, I mean, is Gaz a good guy? Yeah, he's an anti-hero. Gaz is an anti-hero. That's what Gaz is. Asa is the good guy. Asa's very much like me, very mild-mannered. I love Asa. It's why we don't grow as fast as some others who use hate to sell their brand. You know what? I'd rather do it the grassroots style. I listen, if it takes me, to the end of next year, or 2, 3, 4 years from that, hit 25K, I have had fun doing it. I just want to raise up everyone else, and I'm not going to use hate. Otherwise, I'll quit the business. But let's get to the outros. Wandering Dutch, welcome. First of all, brother, thanks so much for being here. You got something that you want to play. We still have 500 people here. Why don't you throw it up on the screen for everyone to check out, man? Let's do a screen share.
Yeah, I'll put that up now. If you give me 2 seconds. Hopefully it works fine.
Yes, let's add to the stream and
living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break the keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it through. Enough to go insane, living in the dark hasn't treated you well. You're building your own prison cell. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Did I brush you off? Is it your lack of friends? We never met, even if you pretend. Am I in your debt? I don't owe you nothing. Don't say something you'll regret. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it. I'm telling you, don't waste it. Lies telling you, don't waste it on me.
that is good stuff, brother. I cannot wait for that. We're all going to be a part of that in one way or another. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Dutch, talk about it. What are people seeing? What are you doing?
Yeah, so this is our 3rd annual indie game showcase by the community and for the community. Of course, last year we showcased over 100 games, which included a guest appearance from Aaron Greenberg and 12 awesome content creators. And of course, we return this year bigger and better than always. This year, however, we're doing things a little bit differently. We have 2 showcases this year. So one of them, of course, is 23rd of April this year, as you just saw there. And the next one is over in September. But this showcase coming up this April includes a few of the awesome gentlemen on screen right now, as well as our awesome content creators that taken part, including Boom himself, Mr. K. Sante, and Everborn Saga, are all taking part in the Community Indie Showcase this year. We have another special guest appearance that we cannot talk about quite yet, of course, but these gentlemen do know who I'm speaking about. And he will be taking part in a much greater and grander way than he did last year. But we have some awesome developers lined up that are taking part in this, showcasing new gameplay footage, new games. And of course, as always, we'll be bringing at least 70 games this year in our first showcase and equal amounts in our second showcase. But there's going to be giveaways, of course, of indie games throughout. It's going to be awesome developers on screen showing brand new footage. Much like last year, even things that you think might be dead in the water, I probably have some gameplay footage for it, much like the last night, which last year I had alpha gameplay footage in there that people hadn't seen. So, so yes, a lot of awesome stuff coming up. Can't wait for people to see it again this year. And thank you to, of course, the gentlemen on this panel for for taking part in that showcase once more.
Our honor, brother. Thank you.
Forward to it.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, brother. And obviously, talk real quick. Just talk about the midweek mix-up podcast. You guys had a show today. Talk about it.
Yeah, certainly. So you can find, of course, our regular shows every Wednesday on my channel, The Wandering Dutch, the home of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. Is every Wednesday, of course, just before prime time, so get you warm-ups on your return home from work, or maybe you're still at work in the US and you can listen to it whilst you're grinding. Of course, we also have a Sunday podcast every other Sunday, which is called the Weekend Edition, and that covers pop culture as well as video games. So kind of any angle is that one. A little bit more chilled out, a little bit more relaxed, a nice end to your week. But yes, thank you again, Boom. Thank you, gents. Awesome show as always. And of course, see everybody else again next week.
Absolutely, brother. And Hargeet Johnny, sell your brand. Talk about Game On Daily. Obviously, the other day was, Gaz's last show, of course, on Colt Eastwood. He had to leave because the man needs to sleep, even though he probably can run for 3 or 4 days, but he needs sleep. Talk about it. What do you guys do over there, man? And when are the big Sauce videos coming? When are we going to see Gaz rap again?
Wow. We'll see stuff, right? But he's always thinking up something. He did put a little snippet of one of the last Sauce videos where he's talking about Jim Ryan, right? It was making fun of the deal after Brazil and Saudi Arabia had both approved the deal, and they were having fun. Jim Ryan, it was great. It's a 50-second clip or something like that. It was hilarious. So obviously GameOnDaily.com and YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. Check us out 4:00 Eastern every Saturday at Go Live. And I guess I'm pretty much now a panel member on RDX. So that's Dealers Podcast, 8:00 Eastern time on Tuesdays. And check me out right here, Primetime Gaming, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So
yeah, and obviously, if you're not on social media, which is fine, where can people reach out to you on Xbox?
It's HChunny is my gamer tag. If you want to check me out there, see what games I'm playing, like Wolong and Halo and Hogwarts.
Halo is so free. I just hit level 60 tonight.
Good. It's new season. It's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But Keisante, you got a big show coming up. You got a nice guest coming on. He's going to be joining you this Saturday with Everborn Saga. Talk about it. Where can people subscribe? Hope you get past 3K now.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Well, first and foremost, I have to say I'm very proud to be part of the Dutchies this week. This is what we're going to call it now, the Dutchies.
Yes.
Screw the Keeleys. We here for the Dutchies. Let's do that. But no, I'm very happy to be taking part. I'm excited to see all the great stuff. He had me at Bomb Funk. I saw the Bomb Funk footage. I was like, okay, I'm here for it. It's good. It's good. But no, thank you guys so much for once again, a great show. Obviously, awesome panel, awesome chat. We're always having a great time. This week, actually, the Gaming Circle has a bunch of content for you. Tomorrow, we're premiering our 1-year anniversary of the Steam Deck review we did. So we rounded back up, got a bunch of the community members, Slow-Mo, Fuzzy, a bunch of folks we got together and just talked about, the year that we've had with our handheld and what it means for the future and all that. So that will be in the feeds tomorrow night. I think it's 7:00 is when that will air. But then, of course, this weekend, we still have the live show, and we will have another slanderous one that will join us. Mr. Daniel McGee will be in the house, which I'm excited to talk to him because, man, and we have Nintendo stories. His Nintendo takes are the hottest I've ever heard. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm looking forward to it. So you can find me, TK Osante, on Xbox, PlayStation, on Twitter, and all those places you can find me. And, of course, when we go live, you'll be able to catch us. You follow me, I'll follow you back. We're having a great show, lots of guests. We're really changing it up, doing some different things. We finally got in touch with some interesting folks. So you're going to start seeing our channel possibly get a facelift, as it were. It's going to start changing. It's going to start getting some interesting things added to it. And it's all, of course, because of you guys' support and all that. And we definitely appreciate it. So until next week, when you'll see us back here on PTG having a great time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, brother. Crispy Bomb, sell your brand, brother. Talk about if people want to catch up and strike up a conversation with you on social media, how do they do that? But also, where can they find you on other podcasts, brother?
Gentlemen, what a great show. Congrats, Boom, man. It's been a ride.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody that made this happen. Now we got to get to 13. Let's get to it.
Yes, let's go. Let's go.
It's at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. You can find me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on the next podcast. Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Retro Renegades, and of course back here, 7 p.m. Wednesdays, Primetime Gaming. We'll see you then.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And last and no way least, Everborn Saga. Talk about the Everborn Saga. What's going on with that? When's the next edition coming out? Are your books still selling in the $50 editions? And what else you got going on?
Yes. We still have the bundle going on in the lead up to Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2, which we are going to be announcing very soon. We only have 15 pages left, and the book is complete. And as you know, the way we do it with the Everborn Saga crowdfunding campaigns, we finish the book first, so none of the risk is on you. We will be announcing that Kickstarter very soon, and we just did our application for New York Comic Con this year. So keep your fingers crossed that we will get in. And we're also moving towards several trade shows this year, like Anime NYC and several others. Also the Schaumburg, if you are in Harlem. So a lot of big things happening, and go to everbornsaga.com and see what I'm talking about.
Love it. Yeah, the artwork is stellar. Again, the amount of material you're going to get for the $50. You don't get it if you like anime. You got to get on that. $50 gets you the whole collection before Ariel's Adventure comes out. You're going to be up to date.
6 chapters, over 300 pages, all color.
Yep.
All cover
and
quality art,
autographed. No doubt.
And it comes signed. That is true.
There you go. Talk about it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the new episode of X Vlog Live will be, live. And I'm going to be sitting down one-on-one with Mav from Fun Speculation. I am literally writing that show as I was doing this show, answering an email something that's going on pretty big behind the scenes for the channel. Very excited. I'll share as soon as I get some more deets. But again, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking about a few things, specifically about, gaming. Of course, we're here to talk about games, but we're also going to talk about how the FTC is, they're failing. They're failing bad, and they're letting the American people down. We're going to talk about that and a few other of the big games. Has anyone played the Resident Evil 4 demo? Holy what? That comes out at the end of the month. I just got my notification for the Collector's Edition from GameStop. They didn't cancel it. I cannot believe they didn't cancel it. So hopefully I'll get that. That game is going to be so freaking good. We'll talk about that and a few other things. But listen, again, I want to close out. I want to say a big thank you to all the super chats that came in. There was a ton of them. I really, we really appreciate them. They do help the channel grow in ways that allow us to do all these advancements, buy lighting, get new cameras, get prepared for E3, and also, do new artwork and new intros and new overlays. And that costs a lot of money. And thanks to you, we're allowed to do that. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.